97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Wednesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salchunas. It's the Midday Show here on 97.5 The Fanatic, and this is not Clearwater, Florida. The hell is this place? Ballard Kinwood. This isn't Clearwater. Hi, Ray. It's good to see your smiling face, man. Oh, I'm home. It was good to be home. I get home. Cooper's sick. My wife's sick. It's like, I'm going back, man. What am I doing here? Anyways, I'm back. I'm thrilled to be back home. You know, I do love Philadelphia. It's just, you know, it's a little warmer down there, quieter, less traffic. You know, just less issues, less stress, less a lot of things. You know what wasn't less? It was more fun, right? It's good to see you. Anyways, all right. Let me get past that before somebody turns it off because they go, oh, this guy, is he just going to go play? He's back in Philly for 4 hours? No. All right, here's what I want to talk about today. So the last 2 days, it was a blast. Last 2 days I was in Clearwater, and I did a lot of Phillies content because I was doing the show from Baycare, the Phillies spring training ballpark, the home of your Clearwater Threshers. And obviously we talked a lot of Phillies. And the Jason Kelce press conference happened Monday at 1 o'clock. We carried it pretty much in its entirety. And reacted a little bit to it yesterday. I didn't really have time to react to it because the press conference ended at the end of the show on Monday, so I never really had a chance to react to it. And so yesterday, because I was still down there for Phillies talk, I couldn't really do a Jason Kelce-focused show. And so I kind of spun it into the whole relationship with Philadelphia fan and Philadelphia athlete that gets it, that gets us, that gets playing in Philadelphia, and how important that is to you. But while we were still doing that topic, I had Tom McCarthy on, I had Matt Strom on, I had Alex Coffey on, right? I had a lot of guests on yesterday too, so I never really had a good chance to react to the Jason Kelce press conference. And now all of a sudden it's Wednesday, right? So I'm not going to sit here and play the 40 minutes of Jason Kelce or clips from Jason Kelce, right? It's a couple days now, but I do want to focus today's show on the impact that Jason Kelce will leave by leaving the Philadelphia Eagles, by retiring. And I'm not complaining that he's retiring. Congratulations on an incredible career. I thank you for everything that you did for the Eagles, being a major part, a voice in that locker room for the Super Bowl team and everything that transpired. That 6-time All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler, arguably one of the best centers in NFL history. Will probably be a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? Like, this guy did a lot, and he did it in Eagles, midnight green, Kelly green, blackouts, white jerseys, you name it. He did it all here in Philadelphia for 13 seasons, and I appreciate everything that Jason Kelce brought to Philadelphia. But he's gone now, right? I don't want to quickly just turn the page. All right, he's gone. You can't think about him anymore. But he's gone now. And because he is gone, that leaves some pretty big voids with the Eagles. Not necessarily the starting center position. I actually believe Cam Jurgens is going to be a good center. Jason Kelce helped select him. He kind of handpicked him out of college. They've been working together the last couple of years. I know Cam Jurgens played right guard last year, but he's been studying under Jason Kelce. So I'm actually, there's going to be growing pains, but I'm still pretty confident that Cam Jurgens will be a pretty damn good center in the NFL. Just might not be a 6-time All-Pro, might not be a Hall of Famer. We'll find out. We'll see how his career plays out. But what Jason Kelce also leaves behind is a major voice inside NovaCare. A major voice inside the locker room on game day. A major voice in the middle of the week when there are media availabilities. Right? Yesterday, I was talking to Tom McCarthy about Rhys Hoskins and how big of a loss not just 40 home runs and 100 RBIs from the right side of the plate is, but also how Rhys Hoskins was the guy when times were tough that would get in front of the camera and talk, right? He wasn't afraid to speak to the media. He wasn't afraid to take the brunt of the questions. If he had a bad game, he didn't run from it, right? He was always ready to talk about it. You go back to A.J. Brown this past season. I didn't care that A.J. Brown didn't speak to the media, right? Like I really didn't. But I think we also have to understand that sometimes speaking to the media, albeit something that you don't want to do, and even though A.J. Brown was honest and said, I wasn't going to say anything nice about how we were playing, it takes a weight off the shoulders of other people. It also doesn't lead to questioning of other players. Like, I remember Devontae Smith being asked, hey, why isn't A.J. Brown talking? I remember Jalen Hurts being asked, why isn't A.J. Brown talking, right? So when you just face the media and get it over with and rip it off like a Band-Aid, as much as it may bother you, A, it's part of the gig, and B, it just doesn't lead to anything else. And I'm not taking a shot at A.J. Brown here. I'm just explaining, how important it is to have that voice in your locker room, to have that voice that's willing to take the brunt of the questions. And so if you avoid taking the questions, it's going to add to the plates of other players that are supposed to be the faces of your team, that are supposed to talk to the media. So Reese Hoskins was that guy for the Phillies, and Kyle Schwarber's kind of taking that over. I don't know who that guy is for the Eagles. Like, Jason Kelce is now gone. So you have your required people. Jalen Hurts speaks every Friday, I believe, when the game's on Sunday, and he speaks after every game. Nick Sirianni speaks, 4 times a week? Sunday, post-game, Monday the day after, Wednesday midweek press conference, Friday going into the game. So Nick Sirianni speaks 4 times a week, and that's required, right? That's part of his job. Jason Kelce was that guy that was always willing to get in front of the camera. The other guys you think of, Brandon Graham, pretty good with that. Jordan Mailata, pretty good with that. Brandon Graham might come back. I think he's going to come back. Fletcher Cox looks like he's going to retire. So then it's down to Jordan Mailata, right? And with all due respect to Jordan Mailata, I don't think he's as impactful as Jason Kelce, right? So yesterday when we had Jeff McClain on, Jeff talked about Jason Kelce, how, he spoke to the media a lot, but he wasn't always the most vocal guy in the locker room. But when he spoke, he had the respect, and everybody listened. Everybody listened to what that man had to say. So here's the deal. Somebody has to take over that leadership role. And you know where I'm going to go with here. It's Jalen Hurts. It's Jalen Hurts. I don't think twice about it. Jalen Hurts is your franchise quarterback. Jalen Hurts is your $250 million man. Jalen Hurts needs to be the guy that takes that next step forward. Now, here's the deal, guys. Hurts didn't necessarily play all that well last year. I thought he had a pretty good season. He just had some bad games thrown in every once in a while, but he wasn't the sole reason why they went from 10-1 to 11-6. But when you go 10-1 to 11-6, you need people to step up. And hopefully that doesn't happen again this year, but Jalen Hurts is going to have to be that guy. You have to put more on the plate of Jalen Hurts now that a guy like Jason Kelce is no longer around. Because it's one thing for the head coach to talk to the team. Player-to-player relationship is different than player-to-coach, than player-to-GM, than player-to-owner. Player-to-player is much different. And let's face it, there have been a lot of reports now at this point, going back to in-season, right? The season wasn't even over yet when Jeff McClain first said it on his podcast, that there are people inside NovaCare that wish Jalen Hurts would change a little bit. Be more vocal when necessary. When times are tough, be there to talk to the teammates. Be there to talk to all the players. Not just be always so stoic, right? And I get it sounds hypocritical because we celebrated how stoic he was when they were doing well, but we're upset when he's so stoic when they're losing. But there was the notion that they were the most miserable 10-1 team in ever that, reporters covered. Jalen Hurts, I'm sorry. I know Ray said this a couple of weeks ago, and I'll get Ray's thoughts on this coming up soon. We shouldn't ask for this guy to change. That might just not be who he is. Well, you know what, damn it? It might be who he needs to become. Because you lost a major voice. This team is still good. The offense is still very talented. The defense should get better this offseason during Howie's season, right? Howie's going to make trades. Howie's going to make free agent signings. Howie's going to probably draft some players to focus on the defense. He has since admitted that he will be aggressive this offseason, and he admitted that his focus was on the offense last offseason, so it's probably going to be different this year, especially when you still have an offense pretty much set. You need to get a new running back, but other than that, you're pretty good, and a third receiver, right? But that's little stuff. Especially, their ideas of running backs. They're not going to go after Derrick Henry. They're not going to go after the big splashy name. They're going to go after somebody that's on the final year of their deal. They might draft somebody. Who knows, right? They're going to get one of those fourth or fifth tier running backs that we talked about last week where they're going to cost $2 to $4 million, right? That's going to be what the Eagles end up doing because that's what Howie Roseman does. But Jalen Hurts, we need to stop babying him. We need to stop being so careful. I've said this a couple of times now, and I say it again. We treat Jalen Hurts like we have bubble wrap around him. And I know there's a lot of fans that are already starting to waver their belief of Jalen Hurts. But if you are like a defender of Jalen Hurts, a lot of people go really above and beyond to try to defend Jalen Hurts. And I think there's probably people hearing me talk right now going, whoa, hold on a second. Let him just focus on playing quarterback. Let him just focus on playing. Let him focus on learning the new offense with Kellen Moore. So many new offensive coordinators in his career going back to college. I'm sorry, screw that. The guy's the franchise quarterback of this football team. He's getting paid $250 million. I need to put more on his plate than just go out there and play better football. Somebody needs to take over that leadership role. And it's got to be Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, because there's enough reports already that they want him to change. Not me, not Ray, not any Eagles fan. No, the Eagles want him to change. And he definitely needs to now that you lost a major voice in your locker room. So I'd love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. Are you in agreement with me that this falls on Jalen Hurts to change, to work on his leadership skills when it's already been talked about that he needs to work on it? Or are you somebody that wants to baby him and go, no, let him just focus on playing quarterback. Let somebody else be the vocal leader. Because I know a lot of people love to protect Jalen Hurts. I like Jalen Hurts a lot. But I can also sit back and go, all right, that needs to be improved. That needs to be improved. And not just for him. A lot of people on the Eagles. But there's a lot of people that are so protective of Jalen Hurts that I think a lot of you wish that I'm not even talking about this right now because you're probably going, no, I want him to just focus on playing quarterback. I'd love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. Also, speaking of leadership and being vocal, Bryce Harper spoke to Todd Zalecki, MLB.com, who does a tremendous job covering the Phillies. And Bryce Harper basically gave a public statement of what he wants the Phillies to do, which isn't the first time he's ever done it. I'll tell you what that is next, and I would love to react to it, whether or not you like it. I'm Andrew Salchunas, it's the Midday Show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sixers fall late to the Nets. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Juicy Juice. Juicy Juice is 100% juice, which means no sugar.
It is 10:20 on the Midday Show, 97.5 The Fanatic, 10 o'clock hour, brought to us by Window Nation. Take advantage of Window Nation's 50% off sale on all style windows, plus make no down payment, no payments, no interest for 12 full months. Call 866-90Nation or visit windownation.com. Starting off the conversation about Jalen Hurts and his leadership. Now, I understand that it is hard to be something you are not, or changing who you are, but sometimes you just got to do it. The reason why I'm talking about Jalen Hurts today is because Jason Kelce leaving the Eagles leaves a void not just at the center position, but also the leadership. And it's already been reported a bunch of times that the Eagles want Jalen Hurts to sort of adapt a little bit. Maybe they knew what the writing on the wall was when these reports were coming out. Maybe they knew the writing on the wall was that Jason Kelce was going to retire. That Fletcher Cox might retire, which it still seems to be heading in that direction, right? So if that's the case, they need somebody to take over. The OGs of the Super Bowl team that will be remaining if Jason Kelce or if Fletcher Cox also retires is Lane Johnson and Brandon Graham. And Brandon Graham can be that guy. Lane Johnson, we know he doesn't really talk all that much, right? That's just not what he does. And you might say, well, then how come you don't put that pressure on Lane Johnson? I don't know. He's been here for a long time now. I don't think that's going to change. Jalen Hurts is still very young in this, that he needs to start changing, especially it's a totally different position. We can't always expect our offensive linemen to be the faces of the team. Sometimes the quarterback has to be that guy that steps up and is the leader that everybody expects him to be. So let me hear from you, 610-632-0975. Do you believe that Jalen Hurts should get that added pressure? I'll use the word pressure to be that vocal leader, to be that guy that steps in front of the, team to talk, that steps in front of the camera, which he always does because he has to, but isn't just saying keep the standard, main thing, the main thing. Like, no, he's actually open. He is actually talking to us like humans, not like robots, right? I think he has to. And I think we need to stop babying him. Let the leash off, right? Like, let him go a little bit. It's like the parents that have the kid with the backpack leash in Disney World or on the boardwalk, which is weird. Get rid of that, right? Let him be free. Let him be the leader he's supposed to be as a franchise quarterback that's making the money that he's making. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning, Andrew.
So I know we kind of talked about this a few weeks ago, right? And I understood where you were coming from. You can't expect him to be something different and all that kind of stuff. And we celebrated how stoic he was when he was winning.
Mm-hmm.
And we rip him for being stoic when they're losing. With Jason Kelce gone, who's that guy that's going to step up? Who's that guy that's going to be, that's the guy when he speaks, everybody listens to? It needs to be Jalen Hurts. I'm sorry.
Do you expect that just everything from Jason Kelce is going to be replaced by one person? Because think about how much offensively is going to be put on the shoulders of Jalen Hurts already. Offensively.
Sorry.
Just what they're doing at the line of scrimmage. But
Mr. 250?
Absolutely. He has to shoulder some of this. To expect him to shoulder all of this is too much.
Well, he's got to be the main guy. I'm not saying he's like, look, everybody's a part of it, right? Everybody's a part. A.J. Brown is the vocal leader on the sideline, right? Alongside with Jason,
Absolutely.
right? It's a collective team effort. It's not one person speaks, right? I'm not naive to that, but it's usually like, all right, when you ask people around, who's the main leader in this clubhouse, there's usually an answer, right? Like, I would imagine a lot of people in the Phillies say, Kyle Schwarber's the vocal leader, Bryce Harper's the leader by example, right? I imagine that's what's said. Hockey, well, it's kind of easy now because Sean Couturier is the captain, right? That's
so
captain.
And when we come back to this conversation, is it okay for Bryce Harper to be a leader by example when he's the 13-year, $330 million guy? Or does he have to shoulder being vocal because that's what you expect a leader to be when you make that much money?
He does talk. I mean, he's always got the headset on during spring training. How many times has he talked about how much he loves Philadelphia? Like, the quotes are.
Do you want to hear about how much he loves Philadelphia or how much he wants or what he's doing to help the team win?
Right. No, I'm saying he does talk a lot. Like, it's not like we don't hear from him for an entire baseball season. Like, we do hear from Bryce Harper often.
Yeah, we're going to hear from Jalen Hurts plenty.
Yes.
We don't like what we're hearing. You don't like
contractually because he has to do it twice a week.
But I don't really care. Like, the cliches will drive me nuts, and we'll play the game. Oh, what game is this? We had fun with that with Hurts. With everything sounds the same with him. What he says to us really doesn't matter. You know, ultimately, it doesn't matter. If he stands up there and he starts answering questions about the team, one thing that I think he could have handled much better is the Sirianni questions at the end of the season. When it comes to talking to the media, those types of things, sure, I'd like to see some growth in it. But ultimately, when you compare it to the Phillies, okay, Schwarber's the leader in the clubhouse and Harper's the leader by example or the vocal leader, whatever it is, and Harper's the one that leads by example. Why do we hold Harper to it's fine if he leads by example, but all of a sudden Jalen Hurts has to be the vocal one? To me, that
I got you.
Harper is your Hurts. Harper is the one you committed all of that money to, that is here for the long haul, that you've built this nucleus around. If we want to compare sports, that's Hurts. And I understand it. The quarterback of a football team, whole different responsibility. Absolutely. He has to shoulder some of this. But to put all of this on Jalen Hurts, I think is a little too much.
Yeah,
and
but you know how people are here about Jalen Hurts. It's like, we can't put too much on his plate. Yeah. Why? He's the franchise quarterback.
He is the franchise quarterback.
That's a part of it. Like being the franchise quarterback, he couldn't always rely on Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce's not retired, right? Like he needs to also, when there's reports that come out from the season that they want him to change a little bit, I don't think they wanted him to change come Eagles-Bucks playoff game. I think that was more of a, let's put this out there now so that next season he realizes that he does have to maybe work on some of his leadership skills a little bit. Maybe the writing was on the wall that Jason Kelce was going to retire. And you said that, when we talked about it, you said it like, maybe, I think it was you who talked about it, like, maybe some of the older players were the ones that were the sources.
Yeah, that were hoping that it would push him towards what the leadership they were looking for.
They want to leave the team in a good place after they leave because they've been here forever. Fletcher Cox and Jason Kelce.
Absolutely could be the case. But I think when we look at the conversation you have around Jason Kelce, the leader, it was something that came up when you were talking with Jeff McClain about, okay, he didn't always raise his voice, but when he spoke, his words carried weight.
Yeah,
I don't need Jalen Hurts to be the rah-rah, loud, in your face, because also I don't think that comes out. If Jalen Hurts got to the podium and started crying like Jason Kelce,
right, that
would come across as inauthentic, or it come across as a major issue. I think Jalen Hurts has to lead in the way that he does. And I think he has to, yes, there's growth that has to happen. There's been enough that's been reported about that. There's been enough about the focus on football.
We can't have a report, let's say it's week 3, right? The Eagles are 2-1 or 1-2, right? Going into week 4. We can't have a report from somebody saying, yeah, and Hurts is, some are saying inside the locker room that Hurts still hasn't taken that step forward as a leader. Like we can't, that can't come out. Like I need to see a report at some point early on in the season of how much he has gotten better as a leader. Like, I need that this year. I can't see the report. And let's face it, now that it's out there, it's going to be asked. Like, everybody's going to be asked of it. Like, hey, has Jalen changed a little bit? Like, in a good way. It's going to come out one way or another. I need it to be the positive. I need it to be the, yes, he has gotten better as a leader. He has taken that step forward knowing that some of the main voices are gone.
I just think ultimately, yes, if he is right to first refusal on this one. Like when you talk about the vacuum of leadership, it's got to be the quarterback that's the first one to step up there. There's a lot more that's being put on his plate than just, hey, be the guy that gets this team moving. When you look at the videos of that, like I think back to that Super Bowl, the lead up, the pregame speech from Kelce that was in the documentary that, we continue to see. Who else is standing at the front of that room?
Right.
Like he's up there. He's doing it in his way. It didn't end up working the end of the season. Jason Kelce, for as much as we love him and, hey, happy retirement, all-time Eagle, one of the greats, he was a leader on a team that lost 6 or 7, too.
No, you're right.
Like, that's not, like, all of a sudden just because he's, retired, and, again, he's Canton-bound, and I love the guy, and he's an all-time Philadelphia and all-time Eagle. He was also a leader on a team that lost 6 or 7.
Right.
So we like to...
But he was number 1. Now number 1's gone. Somebody has to be number 1 at this point.
But I understand what you're saying, but... all of a sudden, it's just let's shift all this to Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
But no, that's not.
You have to.
Jalen, there are 52 other guys in this roster.
This isn't year 2. Like all of a sudden, he's becoming not a vet, but he's entering the prime of his career. He's the franchise quarterback. This team get paid $250 million. Everything changes.
Yes, he has higher expectations than anyone else on that roster.
And you have to hold 100%. Him to a higher standard. He's Mr. Standard's the standard. We have to hold him to a higher standard. He'll be the first one to say it.
Is he the only one that makes a lot of money on this team? Is he the only one that's locked into a contract? No, a lot of guys make a lot of money.
And like you said, it's more than just one leader on a team. But if I'm just telling you right now, I can't have a report come out at some point early on in the season that he hasn't changed, that his leadership skills haven't gotten better, blah, blah, blah. Because then what? Like, are we supposed to be like, all right, that's just not who he is, so he just has to go play football and hopefully he's better at it? Like, it comes with it.
No.
Football's a different beast.
Yes, but it sounds like you're putting this basically, hey,
Yes.
Kelce's going, it's all on you, Hurts. Yeah, I can't get behind
Majority. How about majority goes on Hurts?
that. Oh, the majority is already on Hurts because he already has to take over everything that Kelce did on that side.
But he had the pillow to lay on with Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. Now, 2 of the 3 might be gone. Right now,
Okay,
all of a sudden, it's all right, Jalen. It's your team. Like, now, it's his team.
It was his team as soon as he got paid.
Yeah, but
And how do you expect? But how do you
the
expect him
legendary
also?
figures of these guys that have been here from the Super Bowl? It may not have necessarily always been his team.
But how do you expect also a 13-year veteran that's seen everything he's seen in this league? You're going to take everything that Hurts says the same way you take what he says? Like, I think we're almost trying to, like, just heap something onto Hurts in an offseason where there's already plenty been heaped upon him. Like,
Yeah.
It was going to be this way regardless. We got the leadership stories before we had any decisive say on what was going to happen with Jason Kelce. He already had to grow as a leader this offseason. To me, to say, well, since Kelce hung him up, it's all on you now? No, there's got to be a stronger culture built in there.
Let's say they won the Super Bowl, right? We'd probably still be having this conversation. It might not be as drastic as this one because they fell apart, but if they won the Super Bowl, like, somebody still would have had to have taken over that leadership role.
Yeah, I just think the leadership in there has to be better point blank around the, like, as strong as it was, as strong as that culture we want to talk about was, they lost 6 of 7 to close the season. Hurts, Kelce, Fletcher Cox, Lane Johnson, whoever you want to, Brandon Graham, whoever you want to throw in there as, guys to be up in front of that room. Whoever was in front of the room by the end of the season, there was not enough happening. There was finger pointing. There was a team that.
What was one of the other issues that was reported? That the young wasn't really hearing the old, right?
Do you think the young is Hurts not hearing the old?
No, it could be anyone. It could be Jordan Davis. It could be Jalen Carter. It could be any of the first or second year players. It's not like Hurts is very far removed from those guys. Right?
No.
Like Kelce and Graham and Cox and Lane Johnson could do the whole, guys, this is what we did when we won the Super Bowl. And, some young athlete that might be a diva may go, yeah, dude, 6 years ago. What do I care? Who knows? I don't know. We're not in there.
Okay. I mean, we're not in there. You're
But now
right.
Hurts is the guy that they could probably relate to more. I'm just saying, like, I don't think we should just let's ease into it. No. Now's the time, dude. Now's the time for him to step up. 610-632-0975. Before we get to the phones, the Bryce Harper thing. So there's an article in MLB.com. Todd Zalecki does a tremendous job covering the Phillies. And he spoke with Bryce Harper after the Zach Wheeler extension, which took place on Monday. Here's the quote from Bryce Harper. Having the opportunity to have a 1-2 punch with Wheels and Knowles, there's not much like it in baseball. We have an opportunity to have a 1A and 1A again with the 2 guys up there at the top. Then you go to Ranger and 2 other guys still out there right now. So we might have a chance at those 2 guys as well. End quote. So notice he didn't say 1A, Ranger, Christopher Sanchez, Taijuan Walker. He said Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, and the other 2 guys that are out there. And those 2 guys that are out there are obviously Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery. Bryce Harper, we know, is Mr. GM on this team, right? Remember the JT Realmuto signing in the air? I loved, by the way.
Trey Turner was his favorite shortstop.
Yep. Said that on the broadcast while he was hurt. I have no problem with it. He wants to win a World Series. And I know people might be, how does Christopher Sanchez feel today? I don't know. Like, are we worried about the feelings of your 5th starter when you could bring in a third 1A? Now, I don't think they're coming, right? Like, I don't think Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery are coming. The conversation is off of the quote of Bryce Harper, once again, outwardly speaking about players that he would like the Phillies to go after. And this coming after the reports of it looks like it's not happening. Jason Stark said it with me on Monday that he didn't think they were ever really interested in Snell. And the Montgomery thing, they weren't going to give him an 8-year extension or an 8-year contract after they just gave 7 to Aaron Nola. Do you like Bryce Harper being as vocal as he is about trying to get more players on this team?
I love it.
Good.
Are you kidding me? How could you not love it? I'm sorry, Christopher Sanchez. I'm sorry, Taijuan Walker. You know what? Go into that clubhouse, see if anyone's got Kyle Kendrick's number. You call him and see how he felt when Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee,
Right.
Give me a break, all right? Joe Blanton got to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated, okay?
Yes, he
so
did.
Congrats. One of you guys will get on the cover of Sports Illustrated
Well,
if
it's
they
not
figure
like
it out.
if Christopher Sanchez, let's say you would probably keep Walker, right, in the rotation. You bring in Snell. One of the guys has to go to the bullpen. Christopher Sanchez will still be on the Major League roster.
Yeah.
And he's now your long guy. He's better than Covey and Turnbull, right? Like he's now your long guy. He's a guy that can get you multiple outs, spot start, all that kind of stuff. Like you're still here. I know he probably wants to be a starting pitcher. I get it. We all have things that we
have all
want.
aspirations.
Right.
Sorry, buddy.
Still in the major leagues on a team that has World Series expectations.
You're not getting replaced by some random sign. This isn't Turnbull taking your spot in rotation.
Right.
This is
It's not
former
David.
Cy
It's not
Young.
David Buchanan taking your
Right.
spot.
This is a former Cy Young, and this is a guy who won a World Series and was a big part of that last fall.
Right.
I'm sorry. I don't really feel for you on that one.
But I know people get bothered by it sometimes. I heard Bob and Pat talking about it. John's on vacation this week. John would have a problem with it.
Oh, well, I'm so
John
sorry.
would have a problem with it.
I'm sorry, John.
I don't get it. Like, I want my best player wanting more good players.
Yes.
Why is that wrong?
I want to invest in this team. Guess what? They've spent a lot of money. That's fantastic. If Bryce Harper can convince them to spend more and it puts them in a better position to win, great for me. What am I going to do? I'm already paying $5 a hot dog. Like, I'm fine.
Right.
I'm rolling with another Montgomery. I'm rolling with Snell here. Like, bring me one more of them. If Harper is going to be the one that pushes them to do that, that's great. Harper, I'm sure, he's rep by the same client. I'm sure he's got relationships with them. If you remember that story from the beginning of the offseason, maybe Harper wants them to bring Snell instead of Nola. I'm sure there was a little bit of like, hey, Harper would like to see one of these guys as a teammate. Of course he was. He knows the power he has in this organization. If you have the power in the organization.
Maybe he's greedy and he wants both. And what's wrong with that?
Listen, man, if you could have a 5-man rotation, Snell, Montgomery, Suarez, Wheeler, Nola, and Nola would still start opening day, it'd be awesome.
Pretty damn good rotation.
Yeah, you wouldn't, but I'll get carried away with it. If he wants to say directly, hey, I'm interested in those two guys out there, go ahead and do it.
Because here's the thing. I know the big issue with Snell is not just poor Christopher Sanchez. It's also they'll drop 10 spots back in the draft. If you're Bryce Harper, do you care about a kid that's going to be 18 years old?
If you're me, do you
exactly.
care?
I don't care. You were off on Monday. I went on the entire rant.
Oh, I heard you. Cornelius Randolph dropped.
How many? The million first-round picks, not just with the Phillies, across Major League Baseball that have either sucked in the big leagues or never made it, or they're drafted as a starter, AJ Puck, and then he becomes a reliever, and for what, the A's? Like he's bounced around.
And the thing is with this, okay, yeah, they're gonna drop 10 spots. Oh my goodness. Listen, some of the draft picks they've already made kind of got to work out for you.
Yeah.
And I know part of this is, they also have Painter in the system that could come up at some point, or they've got Abel that might be able to come.
Painter's not for another 2 years.
Right.
So if Snell's on this 3-year deal with opt-outs or whatever, okay, so be it.
Yeah, but that to me, it's like, they got these guys, they got that. Yeah, I've already been very clear about this. This window is shorter than you think. You got to do everything you can with this nucleus to go win.
And by the way, Walker was a 3-year deal, right? So
I think it was 4, right?
4-year deal? All right, so he's going into year 2. And
I would love to move off of that deal.
Painter's not going to pitch until next year, right? But at what point? We don't even know at what point next year. So Walker will still have 1 year left on his deal. And Painter might not come up right away. He's going to have to pitch in the minors first before he even comes up to the major leagues. Then all of a sudden, Taijuan Walker's a free agent. Snell might be gone at that point if it's a 3-year deal with opt-outs. It's still Wheeler, Nola, Suarez. He's going to get paid at some point. And then who? Painter will still be here. Abel will still be here. Right? These guys are still going to be here. We worry over these freaking draft picks and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, no.
I'm all for it, man. I like that Bryce Harper wants to freaking win. We should celebrate that. 610-632-0975. Let's go to Jose and Trenton. Jose, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, fellas, how you doing?
What's up, Jose?
Listen, I'm not a Philadelphia Eagle fan. I am a New England Patriot fan, but I did watch that interview, that press conference, and something that stood out with Jason Kelce, and I respect Philadelphia organization. They've been over here playing us. They played us hard this year, past year. They won. Jason Kelce, he wears his pride on his shoulder, on his sleeve.
Mm-hmm.
He respected the organization. He loves Philadelphia. He knows that. I mean, he wanted to win. He wanted another Super Bowl, but he didn't get it. But my thing is this: stop the bickering. Jason Kelce is one of the best centers in football. He proved it on the field. I mean, how much more do you have to prove?
Well, who's bickering?
I'm talking about the fan negativity. He's no good. He's not the greatest. He is the greatest center of all time. Did he? I feel like he went out the right way.
I don't think anybody's bickering in Philly.
Well, from what I
I had a caller yesterday say he's not the best Philadelphia athlete of all time, but
and I disagree with that. Well,
I mean, we could talk about that for days, right? But
it's true.
I haven't heard anyone complain about Jason Kelce except for one caller who's on the line right now, actually.
Right. One other question. One other thing I wanted to say. I wanted to touch on Zach Wheeler.
Yeah.
I feel like Zach Wheeler respected Jason Kelce, but he didn't come out and he didn't complain. He gave him a spotlight that he deserves. He's retired. Jason Kelce put his time in, and Zach Wheeler respected that. Even though, he got that deal, that extension from the Philadelphia Phillies. He respected Jason Kelce, I feel. In that regard.
I'm sure he did. I have no idea what that means.
Maybe he's thinking that Wheeler didn't complain that his day was taken by Kelce. Doesn't seem like a Wheeler thing to do.
No.
I think if Zach Wheeler could have signed the extension without speaking, that probably would have been.
There's also reports that the extension may have been done.
February 24th?
February 24th, but he had a child born, and he wanted to wait till So I don't. And by the way, the extension comes out and the Kelce tweet right around the same time. So I don't think they were working hand in hand.
No, but it was almost all timing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Incredible timing.
Yeah.
All right. So
it would be a shame if you worked in sports talk radio, you weren't able to work Monday.
Yeah, it was a rough day for you. We got a couple open lines. You can climb in at 610-632-0975. The two talking points today. Are you putting more on the plate of Jalen Hurts going into next season now that leadership role of Jason Kelce's gone? I say yes. I'm sorry. I'm taking off the baby backpack leash that you see on the boardwalk, right? Come on, Jalen. It's time. I'm sorry. It is time for Jalen Hurts to take that next step forward, to be the bigger leader for this team. There's already reports about it. Maybe the reports were a writing on the wall. They knew Jason Kelce was going to retire. So, come on, Jalen. It's time. It's the $250 million. Also, are you okay with Bryce Harper still being as vocal as he is about wanting more players on the Phillies? I don't see why anybody should have a problem with it. I'm Andrew Salchuk. It's the Midday Show. We're talking about that. Also, forgot to mention Adam Schefter on with Bob and Pat this morning, talking about Hassan Reddick. Play you that clip next, right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
10:50 on the Midday Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Andrew Salchunas. Talking about Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, needs to take that big leap forward, not just as a quarterback, no, as a leader. Now that Jason Kelce leaves and there's that big void of his voice leaving the locker room. You know, Ray's trying to put bubble wrap around Jalen. It's nice of you. Where do you get your bubble wrap? Do you go like Lowe's, Home Depot? Are you a Ace? Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folk. Is that
Whichever one wants me to be there, I will be happy to buy my bubble wrap.
Whichever one wants to advertise.
Yeah, that's right. You let me know. I can give you our sales staff's information. I'll be happy to. I'll put myself in bubble wrap. I'll do the show in bubble wrap every day.
Do you know what I'm talking about with those backpacks? The ones where it's a leash backpack for the kids?
Yeah.
Those things freak me out.
Yeah, so big time.
I don't like it.
No, it's scary.
And it's one of those things where I remember when those things were first coming out, it was pre-having a kid. So I always was trying to be careful with what I said to not offend the parents out there. I have a kid now. It's weird. Mm-hmm. Don't have a leash backpack. Don't. That's all.
Yeah. No, it's strange.
And what's the point of it? You go, they can be a little bit more free. Well, you're still pulling them back like a dog. What are you doing?
Yeah, no, I again.
But that's what you want Jalen to wear.
No,
you guys don't. It's all right. We want let him get his feet.
No, he's free.
Wet.
He's free. I'm just not dropping a boulder on his back. That's what you're trying to do right here.
Yes, he's got to be the lead as a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, but you know how rare it is to have someone like Jason Kelce, and we also
pretty rare. And you know what? Sometimes I don't want my ship to sink even faster now that he's gone. Somebody needs to take over that spot. It already sunk pretty fast last year.
Right. So
yeah, but you want it to keep on getting worse? Now I needed to turn around pretty quickly.
Yeah, but the idea that it's just all on him. There's 52 other guys in this roster. There's plenty of other guys in this roster that are being paid. That are being paid to be here.
But they're not getting paid the highest pay like the Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts at one point was the highest paid player in the NFL for a week.
Yeah,
I know. I get it, but he's a franchise quarterback. That comes with it.
It does come with it. Part of it.
I got to ask you. I know Josh is in the back. Was there anything from Kelce on the podcast? Because the New Heights dropped today, and we had Jeff McClain on yesterday, and Jeff said he's still talking. Okay, so we'll try to get it for you whenever we can. Jeff McClain said something interesting yesterday when we had him on. He basically said, "Yeah, I'll let Kelce explain." So it seems like there's more to the why now. Like, why retire now? Because he was at the top, like, all-pro last year, right? He was an all-pro. It's not like he's a guy his career's been going downhill and, it's time for me to hang him up. Like, no, he was still an all-pro, and this team is still good. So the question of why now, I guess we'll await an answer. We might never get an answer, but Jeff McClain, I think, has an answer, but he's going to let Jason be the one to tell us that at some point. So maybe it'll be in the podcast. So if there is something for us to play for you, we will. But speaking of playing something for you, before we get back to the phones at 610-632-0975, I can't wait to get to my man Jay because I need to see if he got his brain studied by scientists yet. Adam Schefter was on with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan today. John out on vacation all week. And they talked about Hassan Reddick. Take a listen to what Shefty had to say about what the Eagles could get for Hassan Reddick.
Well, I think all options are on the table right now, when it comes to him. And I think that if they were to get a fair trade offer, I think that they could be open to that.
What do you think that would be, a fair trade offer?
I don't know. The issue is somebody's got to pay him, right? So my guess would be a two and something. Is that too much? Maybe it's a 3 and a 5. Maybe it's something like that, some combination of picks. But that would be, I think, the general vicinity of what I would guess would be what they were looking for. But I don't know ultimately what they'll get, if they'll deal him, or what the deal will be.
Good job by Pat following up, by the way, saying what would that be? And I know Shefty's kind of speculating, but he's probably I imagine he's hearing a thing or two. If you trade Hassan Reddick and all you get back is a 3 and a 5. Now, hold on. So let me make this clear. That's probably what it will be, right? Like, I don't think Hassan Reddick's you're not getting 2 1s for Hassan Reddick, right? Or you're not getting a first and a player or something like that, even though Howie Roseman has worked his magic before. But is it worth it? To me, it's not. You and I are on the same page. We want Hassan Reddick to still be here. Your defense was trash last year, and now you're getting rid of one of your better players. And for what? Potentially a third and a fifth? And if you get a third and a fifth, what's that? Nakobe Dean and Halapoulivaati Vaitai? Come on, man. Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick is one of the better pass rushers in the NFL right now. And you're going to trade him for a third and a fifth? Because you don't want to pay the man? I'm sorry. I can't go. And I'm a pro Howie guy. I can't rock with that. I do not like hearing that.
I will be out in front of NovaCare if it's a third and a fifth.
Oh, you'll go with the signs?
I'll be down there. I don't know what the sign will say.
You're not going.
Be down
You're not going to fire Howie.
No, but I will be livid. I'll be out like this. This just keeps getting worse for me. You know, we had the Cowboys thing last week. Now we got a third and a 5. My goodness, we're going to be at the end of day 2 in the middle of day 3 in terms of what we get back
and here's
for
the
a
thing.
guy who's a day 1 talent.
I know the Cowboys are laughable and, they always collapse and whatnot. But let's face it, they still have a roster that could potentially win something if it's a well-run organization, which I don't know if it necessarily is a well-run organization. It's been 30 freaking years. But teams like the Cowboys or any team that probably makes that trade is in a win-now kind of mode. They're not worried about the draft picks, right? Aren't the Eagles kind of in that same mode where I know the defense is not in a good place right now, but that's what the focus will be this offseason. Like, the Eagles are still a good football team, ultimately, once they add some players defensively. Like, so you're gonna let them go to probably a contender, right? Like, what? The Panthers aren't trading for Hassan Reddick, right? Like, it's gonna be teams that are contending that might be one piece away defensively will be the ones that are trading for Hassan Reddick. So you're gonna basically give one of the top pass rushers in the NFL to a contending team for a third and a fifth, which that third and the fifth will be late in the third and fifth rounds. The second round pick, that's great and all. I get it. Like, second round picks are very important in the NFL, but it can't just be a 2. It would have to be a 2 and a player, or 2 and something. It can't just be a 2.
Yeah, ultimately, I'm going to be livid probably regardless of the outcome. Like I kind of want to prep the audience for that one. Like, you're probably going to – I would turn down the volume the day that, when you say, good morning, Ray, and that trade is going through and he's no longer an Eagle. Like, I'm just advising all of you, I'm going to be livid when he's not an Eagle. Like, that's where we're at. A third and a fifth is just insulting to mine and your intelligence and the entire fan base.
And I know there's going to be the Eagles sheep fans that go, well, I mean, he wanted out of here anyway. Well, no, he didn't want out of here. He just wanted to get more money and get paid for what he has done and will probably continue to do for at least another year or two. So you give him a 3-year deal, another 2 year. I mean, or he's Jason Kelce and he just continues to play well. Like, who knows, right? Like,
well, I don't know.
I haven't seen Hassan Reddick slow down. The only reason why his numbers dropped off was when Matt Patricia took over.
So he had 1 year double-digit sacks. He had 2 year, then 3 year, 4 year. We're just going to assume it falls off? What if it goes the opposite way? What if he is 5 straight years, 6 straight years, 7 straight years, 8 straight years? You're going to be just sitting there like, well, at least we had 2 of those 7 years of him having double-digit sacks. Oh, that really comforts me. That really makes me feel better. Oh, it's okay. We don't need Hassan Reddick. We've got Hassan Reddick up and coming and Nolan Smith. No, you need Hassan Reddick. Oh, but we're going to get a third and a fifth. That's great. Davion Taylor and Nakobe Dean. Yeah. Those are your third-round picks?
Those have really worked out in the past.
Like, well, what are we – I don't know.
That was – when I heard that from Shefty this morning when I was driving in, listening to Bob and Pat, that was pretty disheartening.
And problematic.
It seems to, like, we've talked about this a couple of times, ever since that press conference, Howie and Nick had at the Combine. Like, it doesn't seem like he's going to be back.
No.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Great story.
Like, it doesn't seem like he's going to be coming back, and now what you might get is a third and a fifth, and that would be pretty disappointing for a guy that's been one year better, if not the best defensive player you've had the last couple of years, and your defense is trending in a horrible direction. Let's go to Soulless Ryan. Ryan, you're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Gentlemen, how you doing?
What's up, Ryan?
Not much. So real quick about Jalen. One of the worst things you could do to anybody is put them into a situation or a position that does not fit who they are. It could be very detrimental, and it could actually be very counterproductive. Now, with that said, there are leadership classes that people can go and take to help.
Well, no, Nick Sirianni said there was no book written on leadership, which if you go to, like, Barnes & Noble, I think there's a whole section of, leadership
a lot
books.
Of a lot of rich, successful people seem to write them, too.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes he just talks way too much.
He needs less talking.
Yeah, you know what? There's also books on public speaking. Maybe he should read one of those because, like, sometimes he just says stuff, and it's like, no, actually there are. Nick, there's a lot of books.
So I mean, he can't if he's not the leader that we're losing in Kelce. He does need to step up, but I don't think it's a good move to put him in a spot where he might not be, just not him.
Yeah, but it doesn't. It doesn't have to be rah-rah. But like, there is something to, and it maybe he needs to find his niche, right? Like maybe he needs to find his niche of leadership, and it's not just being stoic, right? Because clearly that's what he was last year, and there was already reports coming out of NovaCare, right? Oh, the evil media, they make stuff up. No, they don't. Like like people are talking.
I don't know, he was definitely stoic, and he definitely needs to step it up. But I don't want to put him. We can't afford to have him uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
He's the franchise quarterback.
I know you can't.
He needs to do these things, man.
Can't put. I agree, but everything in moderation. You can't put a dude that's not.
What? No, but why is he different? Like, dude, I hear all this. Joel Embiid needs to be a better leader. But, like, Bryce Harper needs a better leader. All the time we point out this guy needs to be a better leader. Claude Giroux needed to be a better leader. Rip off the C. Why is it? Oh, it hurts. It's okay. You know, don't make him do something he's not. Like, why is he different?
It's not that he's different. It has nothing to do with him being different. It has to do, again, with who he is. You bring up good points. I'm not saying you're not, but it's a balance, and you can't tilt the scales to a point where it's going to be
right. And Ryan, I appreciate the call, brother. I'm not asking him to put on a freaking mummer's costume. Right? Like, I'm not asking him to put on a mummer's costume. It's the whole team. I'm not asking him to do that because that is not who he is.
Hungry dogs run fast.
Yeah, I'm not asking him to do that. But, you know, when the reports come out that they want him to be a better leader, all right, franchise quarterback, you have different roles now, different responsibility. If there was a report that came out about me, that I'm bullying Ray too much or something like that, right?
About time that came out.
I would either go to you or go to somebody above and be like, all right, what can I do to be better at this area? Stop bullying Ray. Like, what can I do? Instead of just, I don't like, maybe Hurts has had that conversation. He may have. I'm not going to say that he hasn't. Maybe he did. Maybe he has gone to Howie. Maybe he has gone to Nick. Maybe he has gone to Jeffrey and said, hey, what can I do? Because there's reports out there about me. So, clearly somebody's talking, whether it's you or somebody. We don't have to get to the bottom of it. What is it that I can do that's better? Like, we're all learning in life all the time. But why is it that, don't put too much pressure on him. Why? He's the franchise quarterback. I hear every time the best a team is struggling, it's always, that guy's not a good enough leader. But for Jalen Hurts, it's let's not put too much pressure on his plate.
Because maybe every time it comes out, it's not always the case. Like, I do think he has to grow as a leader. We've heard enough about that.
Right.
This is not a conversation where, everything is status quo is perfect. Let's just, let him frolic and do whatever he wants. No, I think that conversation needs to be had, the one that you're talking about. But the idea, it's all on him. Like, Joel Embiid, when we talk about, you mentioned, we need to be a better leader. There were certain things where I think people were like, hey, him showing up for back when Harden was on the team, like, what was it, the wine launch or whatever, that he was there for Harden at certain events that meant something to Harden.
Yeah.
Or when Marcus Morris was on the team and he gets the key to the city.
Going to the key.
Going to the key of the city. Like, it's not that, Joel Embiid needs to be out till 2 a.m. with Harden in a club because that's going to be the type of, he needs to forge that relationship.
If anything, Harden should have done the opposite, not going to Vegas to
right, but like
playoff run.
For example, Joel Embiid, an hour-long conversation with Tobias Harris while Tobias Harris is struggling. That's something that, hey, maybe a couple of years ago isn't necessarily the role he took. And
right.
Tyrese Maxey's talked about this on his own podcast where he's seen Embiid grow as leader while he's been here. As soon as Maxey's named an all-star, Maxey's complained that he can barely see the notification on his phone because Embiid's there calling him.
Hold on a second. So the reason why maybe he took that step forward was, remember, they brought in Carl Landry because they needed an adult in the room. They brought in Elton Brand to play. Remember he came back on second stint at like 40 years old, like to play. Not necessarily to play, but to be the leader. Al Horford was supposed to be that guy.
That worked out.
After a while, it becomes a time where there's no, like, I wonder if somebody went to Joe, whether it was Morey, whether it was Brett Brown, whether it was Colangelo, whoever, right? I wonder if somebody eventually went to Joel Embiid and said, all right, look, there's no more vet voices for us to bring in. It's now your time. That kind of seems like what they're trying to do with Jalen Hurts.
It does seem
When
like what they're
when
trying
it's
to do.
already coming out before Jason Kelce retires, but they probably had an idea that Jason Kelce was going to retire, and maybe Fletcher Cox, and maybe they don't bring back Brandon Graham. Somebody has to take over. So why not the franchise quarterback?
You could be a part of that. It's also different
He's
when
got to be the main part of it, though. He has
he has to be a part of that.
a main part
He
of it.
has to be a part of that. Like we're talking about Joel Embiid, and okay, at that time they told him, hey, you have to grow as a leader. Now we're talking about Joel Embiid at 29 years old. Now, Jalen Hurts, yes, there's expectation with getting paid. There is expectation being a franchise quarterback. There is all of that falls upon you. He's 25. He's still learning this league. I'd like to believe there's growth in there for him to continue to move forward as a leader here.
I don't think he won't ever. I'm just saying it has to be this year. It has to be. You lost your.
You seem to be
main
like
voice.
this is the sole thing that like he is solely the one responsible for moving this forward.
Yes.
See, I don't think you replace a
with
leader.
help. I get it with help, but somebody's got to be the guy that takes the reins, and it has to be your franchise quarterback. Unless there's somebody that is just above and beyond, like Jason Kelce, right? But there is none. I don't know if.
Do you know there's none?
I don't know. It could be Jordan Mailata. I don't know. I just think Jordan Mailata sticks up for people all the time. Like, I need somebody that's going to be the guy that's like, all right, I'm going to be the leader of this football team. It could be A.J. Brown. I don't know, but everybody's got a problem with A.J. Brown around here. I don't know.
Whoa. Not me.
No, I
Not
know.
me. I'm pro A.J. Brown.
No, I know.
Want
There's
this,
people that are, he's diva.
this program is pro
We are
A.J.
pro
Brown.
A.J. Brown, yeah.
We are pro A.J.
Yeah, before
Brown.
we get there, you're trying to run him out of town tweets.
I want this on the record. I want
right.
A.J. Brown to wear an Eagles jersey forever.
Let's go to Pennsylvania Hospital, I hope. Jay. What's up, Jay?
So now that Zach Galifianakis is retired, you want to put everything on Jalen Hurts.
Come on, man.
Now that his
Are you being studied yet? Are you at the hospital?
That was his demo tape for Hollywood the other day, acting on,
Get the hell,
crying
dude.
on you.
Dude, he
Crying
is
on
gonna
you.
be if seriously I talked about this yesterday. If you think that was an act, Leonardo DiCaprio was gonna be peeing his pants because he's got work to do now because Jason Kelce's gonna take over as best actor.
Ain't nobody worried about that fake acting he was doing. He's gonna look at that thing again. As soon as he said, "I'm gonna retire."
So you didn't go to Penn. You didn't go get your brain checked.
Man, that fraud, man. You want to put everything
Oh
on
my
Jalen
God,
now.
you're insane.
He just as bad as
You
that
are the
Andrew.
you are the only
bad as that
person
Andrew
in the
right
city. You look, all right, so you know how
I'm the only
all
one
right,
that
all
can
right.
do it.
Listen, Jay. So you know how you can do a parlay, right? You know, I'm going to take the Phillies money line, Sixers money line. I guarantee you're the only guy that would run a parlay that would be anti-Jason Kelce, anti-Bryce Harper. You're the only person that would be that guy.
He doesn't say he wasn't in the locker room last year.
Who, Jason Kelce? No, he was. Yeah, and you know what? He's no longer here, so now somebody has to take over, and it's got to be the franchise quarterback.
Somebody will. Let him grow into it. We ain't even playing.
Grow into it. Oh my God! You got the animal backpack with the leash on it, not letting him go too far.
He is going. So let me tell you this. So he wasn't leading when we went to the Super Bowl.
He was, but he
He
also
had nothing to do with it?
but stuff happened
He had
last
nothing
year.
to do with
Clearly, stuff happened last year, and he doesn't have. No, he was a part of it. But Jason Kelce, he had a lot of guys to also be there with, and now Jason Kelce's gone. Everybody has always said that Jason Kelce's been the leader of this team.
And this leader was here when they lost 6 or 7. What was he saying then?
All right, well,
What was
hopefully.
he doing then?
Oh, then Jay, to your.
What was
All right,
Kelce doing
all right. Then I
Kelce
think
was interviewing.
you
He
think
was
that.
out of
All right,
the
hold
team.
on. Let me speak here. Let me speak here. Let me speak. If you're so anti-Jason Kelce, then you must think that Jalen Hurts will be a better leader. Yes.
He's going to be.
All right,
He
when?
was already a leader. That was in his profile.
All right, then when? It's got to start. It's got to start next year then.
What you mean? He was already a leader when we went to the Super Bowl.
All right, well, now you lost that. The guy that you don't like for whatever reason is now gone, so it's got to be Jalen Hurts.
Thank goodness. He held us up for
Let
2
me guess.
years.
You're upset that Bryce Harper spoke out about Blake.
Oh,
Of course you are. Get out of here, dude. Today I hung up on you. Yesterday I didn't because I didn't have the call capabilities down in Clearwater. Today I hung up on you. You are insane, man. He is the only person in this city. Jay in West Philly is the only person in this city. If you are with Jay, I would love to hear from you at 610-632-0975. I will open up the phone lines to the people who are anti-Kelce and Harper. It has to be both, though. It can't be one or the other. Because I think, Ray, Jay is the only person in this freaking city that is anti-Bryce Harper and Jason Kelce. I'm still confused.
Yes, I do feel kind of dirty that he's on my side about the whole Jalen leadership thing because that's not the reasoning I want. He does bring up a good point. Like, Kelce, great leader, was one of the leaders for a team, lost 6 or 7.
Yes, he was.
So,
and
there's
no
a lot in that room that's got to be fixed.
So somebody has to be the better leader next year. And Jay thinks it's going to be Jalen Hurts, but not yet. Not yet. He can't do it too yet because he's still young. Let him grow into it.
There's about 15 seconds of Jay's call where I went, guys, kind of got a point.
Yeah,
And
but then he
most of
also
the
did. But then he did the whole. He's still too young. You gotta be nice to baby Jalen.
No, see that.
Nice to
See,
baby
I think you're
Jalen.
focusing on the wrong part of that. You're focusing on the wrong part. He ripped Kelce and Harper. That's the problem with the call. The problem with the call is not the Hurts take. It's everything that surrounded the Hurts
He
take.
needs to be studied. Find somebody get Jay to a hospital. He needs to be studied. All right, the number to climb in is 610-632-0975. I'll reset the show coming up next. Also, speaking of Bryce Harper and the Phillies, I saw a tweet from somebody who covers the league and has been for a long time with very high expectations for the Phillies this season. I'm sure you will love to hear who said what next. Tell you about it right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sixers fall late to the Nets. I'm Ray Dunn. This update is brought to you by Allstate.
It is 11:19, 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm Andrew Salchunas on the Midday Show. Coming up this segment. So we did get a quote from Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce, the New Heights podcast, dropped today. And I want to credit Josh, who's been ciphering through it. How long was the podcast? 2 hours? 'Cause it started airing before the show started.
For all I know, it's still going.
Really?
I have no idea.
I get. Well, I mean, it's his post-retirement one, post-retirement podcast. So
Just ended.
just ended. Okay, and that started before the show started because I tapped into it to see if they were saying anything. So
No, they did a great.
shut up, Josh. It's been about what 2 hours?
Yeah, they did a great job of teasing all that was. We're going to talk about the retirement, and they did like an hour not on the retirement, and then
Right.
it's like, oh, when do you think the retirement conversation's coming?
So we'll play you a clip coming up this segment. Jason Kelce spoke on a little bit of the why at this time. Because remember, Jeff McClain joined me yesterday and said there is reasons, and he'll let Jason Kelce be the one to say it. So Jeff is sitting on something, so we'll see what Jason Kelce had to say. We'll play that in a couple of minutes. But this tweet that I saw this morning, early, 6:30, 7 a.m., from one Buster Olney, who's been covering baseball for a long time. Tremendous job at doing it. So Buster knows what he's talking about, all right? I remember he would have sold the Vermont farm if the Phillies didn't land Bryce Harper or Manny Machado, like one of the two. And so the Vermont farm lived to see another day, even though I think he lost the farm a few times, but it's just, not everybody bats 1,000. Mel Kiper said he would have quit his job if Jimmy Clausen didn't become a star in the NFL. And I still see him doing mock draft 17.0.
Hey, man, there's always a chance. Jimmy Clausen, if he catches on one of these spring leagues, impresses you, he could come back.
That's what I'm telling you. I respect it, but thievery. Well, whatever. I'll leave it at
What
that.
should I bet? What do I have to? What would you wager of that level?
What?
Like Kuiper wagered his career.
For what, though?
Only wagers the farm. What are you wagering, and what would you wager that on?
Yeah, I can't go career. I need income, right?
Yeah.
I don't have a farm to give up.
No.
Nobody wants my car.
No.
It's 11 years old.
No.
Piece of crap.
I just found out I scratched up the side of the side mirror, so the value of my car actually somehow dropped.
Of your 22-year-old car,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Somehow dropped over.
Almost as old as you.
Yeah.
Man, what would I give up? I don't really know. I don't really have many prized possessions other than my family, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, that's probably
Not vulgar here. Like,
naming rights.
to what?
Next child.
If
If there's an next child.
come on, man.
If I
Put-
listen.
you don't think I'm getting enough pressure,
Listen,
brother? I don't need to come in here to work and get the pressure.
Listen, I'm just saying, okay? I had
Oh.
a friend that wagered the naming rights to his first child on Sam Darnold winning a Super Bowl in the first 5 years of his career.
Oh, to who? Who'd he wager it to?
To one of our friends who now owns the naming rights to said friend's first child.
You know what would be awesome? If he said it has to be Sam or Darnold. Not that Darnold's a first name. Arnold.
So
Something to play off of the Sam Darnold. That'd be
he's a
awesome.
massive Jets fan. There is a lot of talk of the child being named Tom Brady.
Oh, dude, that'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
Like first name Tom, middle name Brady.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
Tom
would-
Brady, I'm not going to give away the last
Yeah,
name.
of course
but
not. That would be pretty freaking awesome.
Yes, and that now said friend is in a relationship, so she's been made aware of the fact that this is something looming if they do end up, having a child. So
Okay.
yeah, tough look for him.
I don't have a farm. I don't have anything that big.
Right. Well, that's what I'm.
But you want my Xbox 360? Like
Ooh, now we're getting somewhere.
my outdated gaming console? Like I don't know, right? What would you give up? Like you're the one putting me on the spot.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I understand that one. I've got something that means a lot. It's a John Mayberry Jr. signed bat
Oh,
from
that's big.
years ago.
That's big,
that one
yeah.
I probably would put up if I had to wager something massive. That's
All
probably
right,
the most expensive thing I own.
I got something very special. If I were to ever man, this is gonna happen, and if it doesn't happen, I have still a like the olive oil sized bottle of the honey liquor that Christy and I made for our wedding.
Oh.
And that thing's now, going on 5 years old, and we're saving it. We only take a shot of it every anniversary now because we
That's
don't want to run through it. Except when I have a cold sometimes.
What?
Take a swig of it. That's honey. It's got all kinds of great
Well, yeah,
stuff in
you
it.
have this sweet story only on anniversaries. Oh, by the way, I have the sniffles.
If I ever have the sniffles, I'll take a shot of it. So maybe that might be my prized possession.
Wow.
That's saying much. All right, so Buster Olney this morning gives his preseason prediction. World Series pick, your Philadelphia Phillies over the Yankees. The Phillies are very driven after squandering a great shot last October when they were the best team, an improved defense, a healthy Harper, and ownership/front office committed to adding whatever is needed during the season. Notice that, not, now with Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery. But I love Buster's mindset. Now, Buster Olney, remember, last year at the trade deadline told us that they would beat the Braves in the playoffs. Remember that? I think I was working with Jamie at the time. He straight up said, you don't have to get it. They're gonna beat the Braves in the playoffs. They're just set up to beat the Braves in the playoffs. So I guess he feels the same way now if he's taking the Phillies to win the World Series over the New York Yankees, which would be tough in your household.
Ooh, yeah. It would be a heck of an October.
Ray's mother's side of the family, New York fans, Giants, Yankees. So 09 was a tough time for him.
09 was brutal.
Yeah.
Young Ray was distraught.
Oh,
I lost a bet. I lost a bet on that one. I had to wear a Yankees shirt.
Well, now you got the revenge factor here in 2024. But it all makes sense. And I picked that up. I spoke with Derek Hall, Jeff Hoffman, and Matt Strom, and then people in the organization like Larry Boa. Tom McCarthy's a part of the organization. Let's face it, he does play-by-play. He works for the Phillies on NBC Sports Philadelphia, right? It seems to be that kind of sentiment. They dropped the ball last year. Larry Boa straight up said it, with all due respect to the Diamondbacks, we should have won. Right? He just straight up was blunt about it. With all due respect to that team, we should have won. And they should have. They were up 2-1, and they were up 3-2. And 3-2 coming back home for 2 games. So, they're motivated. I could tell being down there. So, all right, I like that. Buster Olney, Phils over Yankees. Love to hear from you, 610-632-0975. Let's go to the phones, and then I got this Jason Kelce clip that I'm interested to hear. Let's go to Nick in Lawrenceville. Nick, you're on the Fanatic.
Hey, appreciate the call, guys. Thank you for taking my call. So, as far as the leadership thing I was hearing, at the beginning of the call. So when it comes to a leader, I think Bryce Harper, would be a leader in my eyes, because one, look what he did in Washington when that team was, going through its struggles and, he would pick the team up, put the team on its back. To me.
Yeah, but you know what? A lot of people will say, and I'm not saying it, but a lot of people will say they did win after he left.
That's true. That's true, but think about what he did when he came to Philly, that whole transition.
Yeah, and he put the Nationals back on the map, right? The Nationals were basically nothing. He goes there, they're on the map. It was him and Strasburg and Scherzer, and then he comes here, and the Phillies are back on the map because they had been in the playoff drought when he first signed.
Right, and so that's why I pick him over Jason Kelce, because to me, Jason Kelce, when it comes to a leader in football. To me, I haven't seen Jason Kelce rally up the troops before the pregame warm-ups. I've seen Jalen Hurts do that, where he rallies up the team, fires them up. I haven't seen, Jason Kelce do that. I mean, I could be
but
wrong.
have you seen Bryce do it?
I mean, not necessarily.
Right, I mean, and here's the thing, Nick. We also have to realize, so when Nick Sirianni says in his press conference, there's not a book written on leadership. There is, but I think what he meant to say is there's not one way to lead. Right. And I think Jalen Hurts is a guy that talks to the team before the game on the field. He does his impactful speech and whatnot. But clearly there's still something that's missing, which is why there's all these reports. Jason Kelce probably led in a different way. McClain even said it yesterday. He wasn't the most vocal guy, but when he spoke, people listened. His words meant something. Bryce Harper may not speak all that much, but when he does, they listen, and he leads by example and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, it's an interesting way to look at it, and I appreciate the call, Nick. And I do think Bryce Harper is the leader of that team, at least the not vocal leader. And that could be Jalen Hurts, right? But when there's reports, that's what I'm basing this off of. When there's people that play for the Eagles, that work with the Eagles, not the reporter, play and work for the Eagles, that are saying, anonymously, I get it, that Hurts needs to work on things as a leader, then clearly there's something that's missing that Jalen Hurts needs to work on. And I don't think I'm some jerk, some evil radio hot take guy for saying, yeah, that needs to be fixed and fast. Now the biggest leader's gone. I don't understand why that's crazy. 610-632-0975. So, the New Heights pod with Jason and Travis Kelce. The latest episode today. Kelce, how long is this clip? Is this like a impactful answer? Do we know?
Less than a minute.
Less than a minute. So Jason Kelce goes into it a little bit about why now he decided to retire.
Me, and I think that's how I knew, like in previous years, like I would reach out to other guys like, hey, how do you know when you want to stop playing? Or, Stott, what do you think? And the reality was it was more firm than it's ever been this year, that I just don't think physically I can compete at the level that I want to anymore. Really compete the way I want to. My elbow and my knees. It's just gotten to the point where the deterioration and the recovery from that deterioration hasn't really manifested on game day yet, but I know it's going to start doing that. I'm hard on myself. And if I go out there and I'm not the player that I want to be, it'll crush me. So I feel very confident in the decision I've made. I know that it's time. I've had a really good run, but that's the biggest reason why.
So he wants to basically go out on top of his game. I know he didn't win a Super Bowl, but him personally, he won an All-Pro. That's why I kind of commend Zach Wheeler for the contract extension that he signed the other day. And I had Scott Lauber on Monday, and Scott of the Inquirer spoke with Zach Wheeler's agent. And Zach Wheeler's agent basically said, yeah, he's signing this deal, and it could be it after this, because he doesn't want to be one of those pitchers that's got an ERA of 5. Right, he's cooked, but he's just going contract by contract by contract. He wants to go out when he still feels like he's pitching at a high level. I respect anyone who wants to do that, because I watched Jason Peters, who I know he wants to play another year. I go, dude, hang him up, bro. Like, it's getting sad watching you still go out there and play and limp off the field in the first quarter. That was like, when was he last with the Eagles? 4 years ago? 3 years ago? Like that. We're going up on half a decade all of a sudden since he's been gone from the Eagles, and he's still playing. And we were complaining at the time that he was still playing, that he hadn't retired yet. So Jason Kelce feels like it's time. He brings up he started asking people when they knew it was time. That was in the documentary. If you guys didn't watch it, it was on Amazon, I think it was. I watched that documentary. First of all, I watched the trailer, and I thought it was over. I watched the documentary, and I was like, yeah, there's no way he's not playing, or he's not retiring after the season. And he was asking, I think he asked Connor Barwin, I think he asked Todd Herremans in the documentary. He just tells you now he talked to Jeff Stoutland about it. So, clearly that had already been on his mind, that he was probably going to be gone after the season, and it goes back to also what his wife was saying in the documentary, that she wants her husband, the father of their children, to be able to get down and play with their kids and get back up again and not struggle getting back up, because we have already seen him, or any NFL player, struggle after injury. I mean, that documentary, there were some scenes where it peeled back the curtain. That was the hardest part of watching that documentary. It peeled back the curtain of the NFL player during the week at home. Guy tears ACL. It's, oh, man, that sucks. We'll see him next year, though. Right? Like, we don't talk about the grueling rehab. We don't talk about how they're walking around at home, not even torn ACL, just banged up after a NFL game. That's why players complain about Thursday night football, because it doesn't give you enough time to get your body right. And that was the hardest part about watching that documentary, because there was a scene where he's walking around limping. Ankle was taped up, but then he also had like some metal device that was just kind of keeping his ankle in place, and he didn't miss time during that, right? So he's wearing, what we would wear after surgery, probably just in between games. And so when I watched that documentary, that's why, like, when the announcement came out on Monday that he was going to speak, I was hanging out with Mike Vito, who was engineering for me down in Clearwater, and John Brazier, who helped us out, get down there, director of fun and games for the Phillies. We're speculating, right? And I was like, I wasn't even having the conversation. I was like, he's retiring. Like, what else do you guys think? And then there was the thought of, oh, well, maybe he's doing the whole, I'm going to play one more year. Why is he going to have a press conference where there will be no questions? All right, because I was kind of told there will be no questions. It's just going to be Jason Kelce talking. Why would he not be retiring after this? And so there you go. It gives you a bit of a reason there, is that he just could tell, that his body was bothering him a little bit more than it used to. And he knew that if he did it again, it probably would have been worse. Can you blame the guy, Ray?
No.
You know your body better than anybody else.
No, and going out like this, I respect it because you're not collecting checks based on your name. Like, again,
Right.
You bring up Peters. Like, Kelce, he wants X amount of dollars to come back and play another year. Well, he was an All-Pro. How could you not give him that money? How do you not pay Jason Kelce to be your center? He pretty much acknowledges he doesn't think he's going to play up to the standard he has for himself, and that's why it's over. And I do think, like you mentioned in the documentary, the scene of him trying to get up off the floor after playing with his kids. And, like, I'm not going to pretend like, adults every day don't go through that struggle. You just don't realize what it is for an NFL player to go through that struggle of, like, hey, trying to hop up. Like, he's still in his 30s, but he's moving, he's getting up like he's, much older than,
Right.
in his 30s. And
oh, by the way, he's been doing tush pushes the last couple of years.
Right.
He's at the bottom of the pile. He straight up said it was it on the podcast, or maybe he did a hit somewhere. Like, every time they called tush push, he was like, oh, damn it, okay.
Yeah.
Here we go again. It's on the bottom of the pile of, I don't know, couple thousand pounds.
Yeah. It's time. I think he realizes it. I think we realize it. It's good to hear him say that he was really certain of it and really sure of it, because I think that when you see the emotion, you get the, oh, man, like.
That's the other thing. Him crying on the side, like, he knew it.
Right. No, but I mean, like, at the presser, like, one of those things, like, when he starts crying, it's like, he's doing this for him, but you could tell there's the emotion about leaving football. Like, the fact that he seems so set in this, and, he wouldn't be the first athlete to ever, say they're set in retirement, not be set in it. But the fact that he seems so set in this, so committed to it, it's good to see that he does this on his terms. And I think it was Ricky that made the point on the best show ever this week, like, 95% of athletes don't get to go out on their terms.
Right.
Like, it's cool that he's got to go out on his terms and, be able to have this moment and kind of, celebrate.
I know I'm kind of coming out of left field here, but I went to see Buster Olney's tweet, right, to read it to you guys word for word on the air about how he thinks the Phillies will win the World Series over the Yankees. His most recent post was a retweet of Joey Votto. Joey Votto sitting on a park bench saying, somebody sign me, please, right? What if he doesn't get signed? It's like, that's sports, I guess. Like,
right. I mean, that's it.
Now he's not on the team, and maybe he does get on one at some point, or he retires. A guy that had a hell of a career, by the way, Joey Votto. Some guys, to your point, to what Ricky said, some guys just can't go out on their own terms. Sometimes it's due to injury, right? Like Jason Kelce, his body's banged up, but he's not retiring because he has some career-ending injury. He's just retiring because he wants to go out on a high note, and his body's not feeling the same way, and I don't have a problem with that, and I don't think anybody should. I don't think anybody does, except our man Jay from West Philly, probably. I think that's the only guy.
Yeah, it's still very confusing. I'm not really sure what his problem is.
No, he thinks it's all for show.
Yeah, but, I get, you think it's all for show, so is your problem with Kelce? Is your problem with him retiring? Your problem with the press conference? I feel like there's a study. Like you said, we need to kind of break down where his brain gets the ideas.
He needs to be studied, that's all. All right, the number to climb in is 610-632-0975. So coming up next, I'm going to reset everything that we've talked about today. It's in response to Jason Kelce now officially being retired, and why I believe Jalen Hurts needs to be the guy to step up. And I feel like a lot of people are very hesitant to demand more of Jalen Hurts. And I don't know why. I don't know why when I don't even have to do the whole back in when McNabb played. Like, no, I look at other stars in this city like Joel Embiid, and it's like people get upset with their leadership. Oh, he's a bad leader. But when Jalen Hurts is literally reported to needing to work on his leadership skills, it's okay. Don't be too hard on him. Right? He's already got a lot on his plate. Let's go easy on the kid. All right, let's not expect him to be something that he's not. Franchise quarterback's got to lead. So I'll reset everything. We'll talk about that. This Phillies tweet from Buster Olney where he thinks that they're going to win the World Series this year. There was another tweet regarding the Phillies that I saw this morning. My man Brendan Petrelli, who was helping out the morning show today, he showed it to me. There was a poll that was posted on social media today, and it was a poll that kind of something I said on Monday. I'm not saying that they took what I said, no. But I said something on Monday, and I felt weird saying it, but I think it's accurate. And it's one of those things where you just go, yeah, I think I'm actually right in thinking this, but it just feels weird to believe it. I'll tell you what that is next. 610-632-0975, the number to climb in. I'm Andrew Salchun. It's the Midday Show right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Beaten by Brooklyn. I'm Ray.
Live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Andrew Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
You know, you never know who's listening to the station. Buster Olney must have been listening because he texted me that he wants to come on. He said specifically, Andrew Salchunas, big fan of yours. Love what you do at the Fanatic. You know, you could be the next big one. You could be the next Buster Olney if you wanted to be. You know, just follow my lead. I'll come on. I will come on your show at 12:30. He wants to be on my show. He did not just finally respond to my text asking him to come on. He said he wants to come on my show today at 12:30.
Whatever helps you sleep at night.
Yeah. So coming up at 12:30, we'll be joined by Buster Olney. And if you're just tuning in, Buster Olney put out a tweet this morning saying that his prediction for this season, the Phillies will win the World Series over the Yankees. He said the Phillies are very driven after squandering a great shot last October when they were the best team. An improved defense, a healthy Harper, and ownership/front office committed to adding whatever is needed during the season. So Buster Olney will be joining us coming up at 12:30. I'm going to reset the show in a second, and I want to give you this poll that I saw. But speaking of polls, I pulled one out myself.
Oh,
I see where you're.
I didn't know what you were doing down in Clearwater. I was like, speaking of polls, whoa, man.
This poll was put out in Clearwater. So, why? What? Why is Siri listening to polls?
Siri knows her audience. That's probably suggested to you.
It's a fun time down there.
All right.
All right. So why do we do this? You know where I'm going at, I imagine.
No, I have no idea.
Oh, I guess you didn't get my notification of the tweet that I put out yesterday at the airport. But you and I talked about this last week. And you and I texted about it yesterday.
That's true. I did text you yesterday.
Why? Here's the poll that I put out. I ask the questions that matter, which is true. When you go to the airport, after you get through security, do you walk straight to your gate before you end up going to a bar or anywhere else? Now, you and I talked about this on Friday, saying that that's what we do.
Correct.
Like, I called it the dad thing because my dad always did it. You do it when you travel by yourself. I do it when I travel by myself. Christy and I were in Jamaica 2 weeks ago. She wanted to check the gate before we went. Our flight was at like 10 o'clock in the morning, so we didn't get to eat breakfast beforehand. So we went to the gate before we found a place to get a bagel, right? Why? So I asked the question, do you do that? 84% of people say yes. 745 votes. 84% of people say yes. They go to the gate before they end up going anywhere else. And there's people responding with like, well, yeah, gates change and all that kind of stuff. It's all on the apps. It's all on the phones. You get the alerts. Now, I know sometimes people still do the printout boarding pass, and they don't do the Apple wallets and all that kind of stuff. But to the point where it's 84%. Like, I thought it would have been like a 60-40 yes. 84% answered yes, checking it is still there. And 16% say no, where to go, idiot.
Yeah,
Only
I was surprised you weren't called an idiot more.
I thought I would be. I was asking that question expecting to get ripped. And only 16% don't go to it. Joe responds with only psychos don't check it.
I kind of agree with that one. 16% of you haven't had an event in your life that caused you trust issues. That's what it is.
So this is a trust issue
Yeah,
thing?
absolutely. You're going to tell me on my phone, on this piece of paper, on that screen, all of them say the same gate, and I still have to walk to go make sure that gate is there? That's what it is. 16% of you live in a great mental health space.
Yeah, I guess.
And I appreciate you for doing that. The rest of us have a little bit of anxiety, and maybe a little bit more than that.
Same.
Yeah, I will never trust.
I check it every time. And then I find the bar that's closest to it, but I had to make sure. And it's not even like, is the gate still here? No, I'm literally checking. Like, my phone tells me the gate.
Right. Is the gate here?
When I was coming back from Jamaica, gate changed as I was in security, but I got the report right away.
Yep.
Gate change announcement. So we went to the gate just to make sure it was actually at that new gate.
Correct.
Why?
Listen, I'll be honest with you. I'll take it one step further and call me a weirdo all you want. Every time I walk past one of those boards that have the arrival and departures, I give a peek.
Oh, I did too.
I give a look of like, okay, nothing's changed. I'll look down at my phone. I'm not missing a flight. That's the last thing. I will have travel issues, but those travel issues will be because of the company, not because of me. You will not find me having travel issues
no, that's a good
on
point.
my own accord. I don't trust anything or anyone, including what the gate is listed. I will order that the gate even exists. How do I know it's not under construction? How do I know someone didn't just lift that gate and remove it from the airport?
Yeah.
Forever.
You ever see the movie Terminal?
No.
Oh, you never saw the movie?
Nope.
All right, it's a great movie. Check it out. Tom Hanks.
Certainly. Put it on
Incredible
the
actor.
list.
He was trapped in the terminal. He didn't have a visa to leave.
Oh.
He was able to get to New York, but he was not allowed to leave the airport. It's an awesome. I love the movie. It's a great movie. And he didn't speak English, so he had to learn. He had no money, right? So he had the carts that dispersed the quarters back. Like that's how he was able to pay for food and all that kind. It's a great movie, man. Watch.
I had a terrifying moment when we were traveling. I always check before we walk out of an airport.
Yeah.
Walking out of the Raleigh airport, couldn't find the ID.
That's terrifying.
It was awful.
Yeah, because now, like, what are you going to do? You can't go back in.
No.
You have to go through security to get back in, and you have to have a boarding pass to get back in. Like,
Correct.
You're screwed. Yeah,
it was over, but I found it.
Okay, that's good. That would have been scary. But he found a gate area, a terminal of the terminal under construction. That's where he would sleep because there was no other passengers down there. So you're right. Like, what if there's construction? I don't know. It's just weird. We all do it, apparently. 84% of us, Ray. So we're not the only two lunatics. Really, the lunatics are the ones that don't check it.
No, we're the leaders of the
16%.
lunatics.
Yes, absolutely true. All right. So here's what we have going on today. At 610-632-0975. Ray and I were battling earlier. Jason Kelce's retirement obviously changes two big things. One, you need to replace him, and you already know who that replacement is. It's Cam Jurgens. But can Cam Jurgens play to the level of Jason Kelce, where this offensive line is one of the best offensive lines in football? And I believe that he will. I don't think he's going to be an all-pro right away. Hopefully he is down the road. You're asking a lot for Cam Jurgens to slide over to a position he hasn't played in 3 years now and try to play to the level of Jason Kelce. Like, that's a lot to ask, right? The other thing is the leadership. Because Jason Kelce was the leader of this football team, or one of the leaders of the football team. But from afar, we realized that he was the guy, right? He was the face of the team, at least from inside, not the face. Maybe he was the face. I don't know. Who was the face of the franchise? Was it Hurts and Kelce and really nobody on defense?
Probably Kelce.
Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, right? So Jason Kelce. Jason Kelce's now gone. Fletcher Cox on the verge of retirement. Brandon Graham is a free agent. Notice, it's pretty interesting. When Howie had the press conference, he said if they wanted to come back, I don't want to see them play in another uniform. And he said only Kelce and Fletcher Cox. He did not mention Brandon Graham. I don't know if that was just a slip, right? Or maybe they're already working on stuff, right?
It'd be interesting if he knew where those two were headed down the path.
Right.
And he just, Kelce and Cox, we don't want to see them wearing any other jersey. And he's just in the back of his head, Kelce.
Yeah, they're retiring. Yeah, he probably already knew. But the four guys that are remaining from the Super Bowl, 5, Rick Lovato. How come we never? 6,
Dude,
Jake
on.
Elliott. How come we never give these guys credit?
How come we don't put the leadership on them? You've been here a long time. You saw what it took to win a Super Bowl.
Rick Lovato?
Do you think that Jake Elliott has to step up as a leader? 610.
How come Rick Lovato? He's a long snapper. Why can't he be center? Oh, man. Anyways.
Come on, football guy. You're better than that.
Guy. With them potentially retiring, and Jason Kelce was the guy that was always willing to speak to the media. Same with Fletcher Cox. I mean, it was scary what he said. Remember, he said that there's players in here that are scared right now. Like, that was scary.
We're going to find out who
We're
we have.
going to find out who we really are and all that kind of stuff, right? He was the guy that was always speaking to the media after games. It's now really Brandon Graham and Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has to, twice, a week, talk to the media. It's not just about talking to the media. When reports come out via the media that players and front office members, probably Howie, inside NovaCare, want Jalen Hurts to get better as a leader, clearly there's something there. And now with Jason Kelce being gone, Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, needs to take that leap forward, needs to have that stuff on his plate. I understand he's going to be learning another new offense with Kellen Moore, even though I saw that report that Nick Sirianni wants to get his grimy little fingers on it still. That came out, over the weekend, or was that when I was gone? I forget. Yeah, come on, Nick.
Not great.
Step back.
I don't like it.
But he needs to learn another new offense, and blah, blah. And coming off a year where they had the collapse, blah, blah. Look, to me, I'm sorry, you're the franchise quarterback. You're getting paid $250 million. It's time to let go of the leash a little bit, guys. It's time to stop babying him. Oh, but he's only 26. I don't care. He's the
25.
franchise quarterback, 25. Going on 60, right? We talk about that all the time. He's the franchise quarterback. To me, he has to be the guy that is the main leader of this football team now that the old regime is on their way out. He needs to be the new guy. Who else do you believe that can do it? I don't believe in Darius Slay to be that guy, right? I don't. I'm sorry. He's bitching and moaning about being booed. Right? I don't think he's going to be that leader for this team. Lane Johnson doesn't really talk all that much, right? So, and I'm not – you want to talk about changing? I don't expect a guy that's been doing it for almost how long has Lane Johnson been in the league? Since 20 – he was a 2013. You know, it's the old can't teach old dogs new tricks. Like, I don't think if that's all.
So Lane Johnson doesn't have to change?
No.
Why not?
I don't know. He's not the franchise quarterback.
He's franchise tackle.
He leads by
He's
example.
compensated.
He leads
compensated
he leads by example.
Well, Hurts hasn't?
Lane Johnson leads by example.
Well, why hasn't Hurts?
That's for the sake of my argument.
It just seems like your argument's falling apart.
No, it's not. Lane Johnson needs to take some of it. He does. But Jalen Hurts, I haven't heard any reports about Lane Johnson's leadership capabilities are not good.
Because nobody's reporting on a right tackle's leadership ability.
Well, maybe because there's no issues with the right tackle's leadership ability.
Well, maybe it's not a scrutinized position.
Maybe the issues are with the quarterback's leadership abilities, which is why there's reports that are coming out. And I'm sorry, I can't give – let's give him 1 year before we start asking him to do too much. I'm sorry. This team is still too good. And that's not just coming from me. How about that for a transition? So Jason Kelce's podcast today dropped, the New Heights pod, him and Travis Kelce. The last segment we played for you, he talked about why he decided to retire now. And he straight up said, look, my body's just not the same. It's not recovering the same way. I don't want to go out after a bad season, like personally, right? I want to go out on a high note. He did as an all-pro. But this decision was hard for him, not just because he loves the game of football and it's been his life and it means he's turning a new, chapter in his life. There's another reason why this is really hard for him. Take a listen.
The one thing that I'm disappointed about retiring right now is I'm retiring when the Eagles had potentially the biggest collapse in the history of the organization. Not potentially, probably the most.
No.
And the reason I say that I'm upset about that is I really, truly think the Eagles are going to ball out next year. I think all of those guys, there's still a tremendous amount of talent there.
Mm-hmm.
They've hired 2 really good coaches that are going to be able to offer a new perspective and look at things with a fresh lens. I think Jalen Hurts is a tremendous quarterback. I know it wasn't a good end of the year for him or for anybody on offense.
Yeah, there's no doubt in that.
But there's still so many pieces. There's plenty of cap space. I know how he's going to make some moves to improve the things that need to get fixed.
He always does.
I just really think there's going to be one hell of a bounce back from the Philadelphia Eagles next year. And it really pains me that, I'll be a part of it in some way. Like, I'm still going to go down to the facilities. I'm still going to help out in any way I can. But I'm also going to be doing other things. And I'm not going to be on the field doing it with those guys. But I can damn sure at least appreciate it from afar. That is one thing I'm really upset about the timing of. But it is what it is. It's just I have to enjoy it in a different way.
We also can't just rely on Jason Kelce to give speeches, right, when he's not on the team, right? So somebody on the team, somebody on the roster, the 53, 69-man roster, whatever, needs to try to take over for Jason Kelce. And you heard him talk about, and I've been saying that for a couple weeks now. Like, this team's going to be really good as long as the defense has to get better, right? We know that. The offense is kind of still there. The defense needs to get better, and I believe that Howie Roseman will do that. But I also noticed that talent doesn't always prevail issues in a locker room. We saw that last year with that collapse, the most historic collapse, arguably not just Eagles franchise history, right? You can make the case NFL history, right? With that being said, if leadership was a problem with Jalen Hurts, as reported by members of the media from people inside NovaCare, it's not like Jeff McClain wrote an opinionated story and said, man, when I'm sitting in the locker room, I can just tell that Jalen Hurts isn't a good leader. No, it was players and members of the Eagles that spoke out about his leadership and how it needs to improve. If your team is still good, which I believe that it is, and Jason Kelce's even closer, he knows it, why shouldn't I ask for this guy to do more? Why shouldn't I put more on his plate when he's the franchise quarterback of this football team?
Because you're already doing that. We've already done that. Before Kelce retired, the question was already take a step forward as a leader. Guess what? He's not the only person on this team that was the reason they collapsed. He's not the only person in this team inside that locker room that clearly didn't have a voice that was controlling everyone together. The idea that this is just
A.J. Brown was a voice that helped also hurt, right? Let's face it, at this point, there's enough reports that people were upset that he wasn't talking at times, right? Not the evil media, right? It was because now Devontae Smith's being asked about it, Jalen Hurts is being asked about it, and it's a distraction at one point. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people to blame, and there's a lot of people to give credit to for leadership, but it seems like Kelce was number one, so somebody's got to take the step up to be the number one guy.
If Kelce was back, the number one guy was still having to take a look at what happened. Like, I'll be honest. Like, continuing with Hurts is, I think, letting everyone else off the hook. And just say, well,
yeah, I'm not even looking back to last year. I'm talking about next year.
Yeah, but that's letting everyone else in that room off the hook.
Somebody has to step up. And to me, my opinion is that it has to be Jalen Hurts. You believe it should be a collective effort. And that's okay. Like, other people have to be a voice. I get that. Everybody has to mature. Everybody has to be better. I mean, it's one of these things where when you lose somebody like a Jason Kelce, it is going to be a collective effort. You're like, I'm not disagreeing with you. I don't think it has to all fall on the shoulders of Jalen Hurts, but I think Jalen Hurts has to be number one, not just the jersey number one. Like, he has to be the number one guy in that locker room. And I think they tried making that known with what has come out, with all these stories from Jeff and other people that cover the NFL, that cover the Eagles. I think there's a reason why those stories came out. When people feel the need to get something out there, hey, come on over here. Speaking on anonymity here,
I'm just
needs
curious.
to work on his leadership.
You mentioned earlier in the show, if week 3 you get the report, well, his leadership hasn't gotten better. What if you get the report week 3 that, Jalen Hurts changed again, and this guy doesn't seem like himself at all? Is that all of a sudden, no, now we have to back off because now it seems
So what you're saying, they're struggling, but he's trying to be more of a leader or something like that?
Like, he's attempted, but now it's weird. His voice in the locker room, it just doesn't feel like Jalen. Like if we force it.
So what, now we're reaching Russell Wilson territory where he's just a weirdo?
Could happen.
Don't you got to try?
I mean, I think he's going to try. That's the thing. But
here's the thing. Players are literally, they're asking for it. Or Howie, or whoever it is that's talking to Jeff McClain, talking to Tim McManus, talking to Marcus Hayes, talking to all these people. Joe Santoliquito. Clearly there's an opinion inside that building. And I don't know. It could be one person. Could be 2 people. Could be 10 people. I don't know. All the time. Yeah. I remember our man Jay in West Philly, right? Who I love, right? Even though he's driving me bananas. 2 or 3 calls ago, it was like, ignore that. That was probably Quez Watkins who said that. I don't know. What if it wasn't? What if it was Jason Kelce and Fletcher Cox and Howie Roseman? The GM and one of the 2 more iconic Eagles players in franchise history that are on their way out. What if it was those guys?
Well, if it was Howie, what's better than to have everyone distracted about your awful defense than to have us talking about the leadership of Jalen Hurts?
Look, he is a slimy fella.
Listen, and how we trust in building a roster.
And how we trust in building a roster, yes. I wouldn't trust him with other stuff. I wouldn't, if I'm being completely honest.
I don't trust him what he's doing right now with my best defensive player. That's for sure. I'm still livid. I'll be honest.
Can you play the Schefter clip one more time? Adam Schefter was on with Bob and Pat today. John's off for vacation. And they got into the conversation about Hassan Reddick and what might be next for the Eagles' edge rusher.
Well, I think all options are on the table right now, when it comes to him. And I think that if they were to get a fair trade offer, I think that they could be open to that.
What do you think that would be, a fair trade offer?
I don't know. The issue is somebody's got to pay him, right? So my guess would be a 2 and something. Is that too much? Maybe it's a 3 and a 5. Maybe it's something like that, some combination of picks. But that would be, I think, the general vicinity of what I would guess would be what they were looking for. But I don't know ultimately what they'll get, if they'll deal him, or what the deal will be.
So a 2 or a 3 and a 5. And I know a 2 is big. I know a second-round pick is big in the NFL, especially if you're getting it for a guy that you don't think will be here, right? But it's not that he doesn't want to be here. He himself publicly said that on social media. Remember, there was the Jordan Schultz report when we were on the air when it came out.
Yep.
And then Hassan Reddick put out a tweet responding to Schultz's report saying, yeah, it's not that I don't want to go. A business is a business, right? For him himself, and he also understands why the Eagles wouldn't want to pay him, or I don't know if he understands, but he understands why they're seeking other options, I guess. Your defense is in trouble already, as you know. For you to lose your best player and for you to come back with potentially a 3rd and 5th round pick, like that's pretty disappointing. Now, I know, I don't know if it was Brendan Gunn or Brendan Petrelli. Somebody tweeted out what Adam Schefter said. And I think it was Les Bowen quote tweeted it and saying, like, this isn't enough. Like, Les Bowen, longtime, Eagles reporter. And somebody responded. Might have been Kevin Kincaid from Crossing Broad. I forget who responded.
Saw Jimmy Kemsky respond.
Was it Kemsky? All right, somebody responded and was like, yeah, Schefty's going to get a text from Howie or a call from Howie soon.
Yeah, it was Kemsky.
Okay, it was Kemsky. Kemsky to try to, like, change that narrative out there. But, I don't know if that's what the terms are. That's what the terms are. And so what Howie needs to decide is, all right, is the 3rd and the 5th round picks from what would be a contending team, right? It's either a contending team or a team that's on the up, which like a Houston Texans or something, right? Like I don't know, team that's on the rise. The
Haven't
Packers,
paid the quarterback.
the Packers, right? Something like that because they need defensive help, but they're a contender. They were in the freaking NFC Championship game last year, right? You're gonna make a trade with a contender. Get a late 3rd round pick, a late 5th round pick, just so that you don't pay the guy what he's probably worth around the NFL. Because that's something that the Eagles don't do after the age of 30. And I get it. We saw shoot themselves in the foot with the Bradbury and Darius Slay thing, having both of them, right? Slay actually had a good season. But I don't know, man. I didn't see Hassan Reddick lose a step last year. I really didn't. Unless they did. I mean, they would know better than we do. Football guys they are and all the medicals and all that kind of stuff. But I would be severely disappointed if I saw a 3rd and a 5th round pick via Green Bay, Houston, Dallas, right? Which popped up last week. Like, that would suck.
So just for fun here, the last time the Eagles have picked in the 3rd and 5th round of the same draft. This is not to say they'll be the same pick, but hey, 3rd and 5th round where they picked in the same draft. 2021, in the 3rd round, they took Milton Williams. 5th round, they took Kenneth Gainwell. 2020, 3rd round, they took Davion Taylor. 5th round, they took John Hightower.
Who was supposed to be the better of Hightower and Watkins, and it ended up being Watkins.
And to be fair, 2017, they also drafted in the 3rd and the 5th, Rasul Douglas, and then Shelton Gibson and Nathan Gary. So,
the White Snake.
Yeah. So,
it hasn't really been great.
2016, he was in charge of that third round.
Vaitai was what, 16?
Yeah, 16. Isaac Seumalo, and then their 5th round picks were Wendell Smallwood and Vaitai.
So that was actually a great 3rd and 5th round. Look, Seumalo was your starting right guard for a while. Did he end up starting in the Super Bowl? Because Brandon Brooks was hurt. Because it was Vaitai. I think it was Vaitai, Wisniewski, Kelce, Seumalo, and Lane Johnson, right?
How quickly time goes.
Well, I mean, we're talking left. I know Wisniewski was one of the starting guards.
Friend of the program.
Yeah, of course he is. All right, we'll try to figure it out. But, yeah, I mean, the 3rd and 5th round picks is not really been home runs for the Eagles. And you're going to lose your best defensive player for that? It's ridiculous. Like, honestly, that's dumb.
Brandon Brooks did play that game. So yeah.
He did play that game.
Vaitai, right. Wisniewski, Kelce, Brooks.
That's right.
Johnson.
Brooks missed the entire season before or after he had the bad injury. All right. We'll continue the conversation. Coming up next, 12:30. Buster Olney predicting the Phillies will win the World Series this year over the New York Yankees. We'll ask him why. I know he put out some reasonings in his tweet, but I'd love to dive in deep. Just because I'm back here in Ballot doesn't mean the baseball itch isn't still there, man. I got to talk to Jason Stark on Monday. Buster Olney today. Pretty big day. Pretty big week. Some Seamhead conversation. We'll do that next. Also, I have a question regarding Jason Kelce and how he's universally loved by everyone except Jay from West Philly. And if there's anyone here that's close to that right now, talk about that next right here, 97.5 The Fanatic. 1220. 97.5 The Fanatic, 12 o'clock hour, brought to us by Service First Heating and Air Conditioning. Get 0% financing for 72 months and a $500 rebate when you purchase a complete heating and cooling system from Service First. Learn more at servicefirst.hvac.com. My apologies that I was not on the air right when the music started playing.
Apology accepted. Thank you.
Tyrone walked in right at the end of the break. So the 12-12 break is my go see Tyrone break. And then the next break is Jen and Ricky will then be there because Tyrone's always the first to arrive. And it's a special break to go out there and say hi. And I walked out there. He was not out there. I was concerned.
It does kind of seem like you're dodging accountability here and placing this on Tyrone.
No. I just wanted to make sure that he's all right. Dylan was out there. I was like, Dylan, where is he? I don't know. He's usually here by now. But Wednesday, you know how the world's changed post-COVID and everything. Wednesday seems to be the in-office day here.
Yes.
It's not just, in case you don't know our building, it's not just the 5 radio stations under the Beasley umbrella. It's also, there's like an insurance company, there's a gym, there's other stuff here. Dentist office, right?
Pagano's,
now open on Fridays. Big.
That's right.
Big day for Ray.
Massive day.
Finding that out. But Tyrone had to park basically in Manioc to come over here.
Yeah, I've basically been parking on St. Joe's campus for the last couple weeks.
On Wednesdays, specifically.
And Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Really?
Yeah, our side of the building, Mondays and Fridays, nobody can be found. Nobody can be found on our wing of the building. But somehow, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, also for my commute too, Monday and Friday, I get here in 10 minutes.
Leaving's a pain in the ass, though. It's the weirdest thing. I've noticed this. There's no traffic coming into work on a Monday or a Friday, but then there's traffic leaving. So are people going into work later? Are people going into work earlier? I don't know.
Are people going into work? Question mark.
Not going to work and then taking the day to go into the city or something.
I don't know.
Drink. I don't know. It's weird.
I can tell you, I'm parked a little bit closer today because I got here a little bit earlier today because a certain member of the morning show has been a little upset with my arrival times because it conflicts with our meeting over the last couple of days.
You guys have a meeting at 8:41 every day.
Yeah, I understand. And, so I got here a little bit earlier today to ensure that I would not upset said member of the morning show who might be a little bit shorter and might be, another rabid Temple fan such as I. So I want to make sure that he was okay with when I got here. And because of that, I still was unable to park on our side because Wednesday everybody comes in, and I got to park a little bit closer. But yesterday I basically parked at Hagan Arena on St. Joe's campus. Like, I mean, it's ridiculous, the parking situation here.
Do me a favor. Well, I'm sure Josh can hear me. The New Heights pod, as we've played a few clips from it today, they dropped at the end of it like we don't have to do all 5 minutes, but a 5-minute compilation video of a bunch of people congratulating him on his retirement. It's like big name people, like Joel's in it and Bede's in it. So
Did see that.
if Josh could grab that would be great. One more thing to address. Buster Olney's going to be joining us at 12:30. Did you see? I feel terrible. Did you see what happened in the basketball Group 2 semifinal game last night between Manasquan School and Camden?
I did.
Horrible. I feel terrible for the Manasquan kids. So it's all over social media here locally. So if you didn't see it, Manasquan School was playing Camden High, and they had a shot at the buzzer that was missed, and somebody tipped it back in. And if you're watching the video without the clock, you can hear the buzzer sound well after the ball goes in. Then there's the screenshots of people that had different angles, and there was a online feed of the game. So there's no replay and all that kind of stuff in high school sports. But there's an online feed, and the ball's going through the net with like half a second left. So that means the guy tipped it back in with like 1 and change before it went through. They counted the basket, and the kids of the Manasquan team of the high school celebrated, running around. They're hugging the kid that put it back in, and then the refs visited and waved off the shot. And that's horrible. And that's tough because there's no replay. But that sucks.
Yeah, I mean,
especially with technology now. Those kids know they won.
Correct.
Should have won.
Correct. It's not a, we'll never know, on that day. We can never go back and find it. No, you can see that.
We know.
And also, they counted it and then waved it off. That's brutal. Absolutely brutal. I don't know the New Jersey system the way, I grew up in Pennsylvania, so I don't know the New Jersey system the way I know the Pennsylvania system. Is that it? Is that done? Their career over? Some of those kids, their career just over? I don't know if there's playbacks. I don't know if we've hit states for them or if this is... Oh.
Right, it might be. Yeah,
I don't know
you're
New
right.
Jersey,
It might be over.
You literally go from the euphoria of moving on to the agony of your career being over because they waved off a bucket that they counted at the end of a game. It's awful.
I thought there was a great quote from the Manasquan head coach Andrew Belodu. I apologize if I'm saying it incorrectly. Quote: "They reversed the call. The referee in the C position in the middle signaled baskets good. They huddled up, and then 15 kids got screwed in front of 1,000 people. Print that. Print it 5 times. Those 3 guys huddled up, and they screwed these kids in front of 1,000 people. And that video will be on the internet for everyone to see. These guys beat Camden's ass in front of everyone in this gym and everyone on TV. Camden is a heck of a team. Well coached, tough, defensive-minded, but we outplayed them tonight. Everybody saw it. God bless you all." It's a great, great quote. That sucks. Like you said, there's some kids that are probably seniors, and if that is the last of it, that's it.
Yeah, he said it a lot nicer than I would have. So I give him props for that.
Yeah, and it's just crazy because last week was the incredible finals of the Philadelphia Catholic League Championship, right? The buzzer beater.
Yep.
And now this one was also a buzzer beater. And it's waved off, even though there's clear video that the basket was in. That sucks.
The way I saw this video was, I don't know who tweeted it, so my apologies to whoever did.
I've seen a bunch, so.
But this specifically, it was because of the caption sticks out with me. They tweeted at Scott Van Pelt and said, "Could you put this in your segment, the worst thing I saw today?"
Ah, good. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, so a nice play on the fact that the Catholic League was in the news, or in the best thing that he saw today. The whoever was trying to say that they should create a segment specifically for that.
Oh, wow. And as I talk about it, because the computers listen, I just saw a report that whatever the NJSIAA is, I'm sure New Jersey State something athletic association.
New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association.
Sounds good. They rejected Manasquan's appeal. Which I'm not surprised.
No, I'm not surprised.
But it just sucks that there's video there. You see it clear as day. That sucks. All right, I'll be joined momentarily by Buster Olney. He's going to be joining us coming up at 12:30. The reason why I wanted Buster Olney on today, he put out a tweet bright and early, 6:37 this morning. World Series pick from here. Phillies over the Yankees. The Phillies are very driven after squandering a great shot last October when they were the best team. An improved defense, a healthy Harper, an ownership, front office, committed to adding whatever is needed during the season. So a guy that's been covering Major League Baseball for a long time and one of the best to do it, his preseason prediction is that the Phillies will win the World Series over the New York Yankees. So, of course, when I see that tweet bright and early, chasing Cooper around, I go, I got to get Buster on. And he agreed to come on with us right now, so I'm excited to talk to him from ESPN on the Comcast Business Hotline, the great Buster Olney. Buster, what's going on, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Down in Florida, we got an exhibition broadcast tomorrow, and Braves and Red Sox getting ready for that, so fired up.
That's awesome. I was just down there yesterday. I did 2 shows down there, Monday and Tuesday, and spoke to some of the players and Larry Bowe and other people involved with the organization for the Phillies. So it was a great time down there, so I'm glad you enjoyed the rest of your spring in sunny Florida. I had a quick 2-day stay. But, Buster, you got me going early on this morning when you put out that tweet. You're predicting right now the Phillies to beat the Yankees in the World Series. What goes into your belief?
Yeah, and I have to do the full disclosure, full context. Last year, I picked the San Diego Padres to win the World Series. Okay, they didn't even make the playoffs, so obviously I'm an idiot. And my son is a Braves fan, and when I told him I was picking the Phillies, he was relieved. Like, he was greatly relieved because he knows, my rate of accuracy is not that high.
Oh, wow. So he was relieved in a bad way for us.
Oh, totally. Oh, completely. Like, he's like, oh, my God, thank God it's definitely not going to be the Phillies now when my son heard that I predicted them.
That's tough love.
All kids. Well, that's my son. He's a sophomore in college. That's his acerbic humor right now. All kidding aside, I think that they were the best team in the middle of last October. I was shocked when they didn't win the World Series. I have not been in their camp this spring, but I've talked to enough people over there to get the sense that this is a group that's hyper focused, and I've seen that dynamic play out with other teams. The '97 Yankees lose in a shocking way to Cleveland in the playoffs, and they come back and they have the greatest season ever, 125 wins driven the whole year. The Red Sox lose in the playoffs to the Yankees in 2003. They come back the next year with a vengeance. I think that plays. I think it's a factor. And let's face it, that they go into the season as one of the three best teams in the National League on paper. I think there's a lot more pressure on the Braves, who probably are the best regular season team. There's a lot more pressure on the Dodgers because of all the moves and all the money they spent during the wintertime. And I just feel like that the Phillies are going to wind up handling it better in October.
So last year, I had you on right around the trade deadline, and then I had you on again during the playoffs, and you predicted back at the trade deadline that the Phillies would beat the Braves in the playoffs because the way they were built. So let me ask you something, Buster. How important is it, or does it really not matter that much, for the Phillies to still try to contend for the NL East crown? Because I do have to wonder how many more times can I rely on the Phillies upsetting the Braves and the Dodgers to be upset on the other side of the bracket by the Diamondbacks last year and the Padres the year before that?
Or maybe a bigger concern might be how can you count on getting through the wild card round, right? If you're the Phillies and you don't win the division, I think that is legitimate concern. I mean, we saw them shocked last year by the Diamondbacks. I think that the part of the reason why that the Braves went out and got Chris Sale was because of the Phillies and their lineup. Essentially to be able to run a left-hander out there with plus stuff who's good against left-handed hitting. Alex Anthopoulos has not told me that, but it feels like that, if you are the Braves and you're looking at what's gone on the last couple of postseasons, you haven't had enough starting pitching depth. And I think that drove them to get Sale. And, we'll see. I still think that there's going to be more pressure when the playoffs begin on the Braves. And you've heard the Braves players talk this spring like essentially World Series or bust. Look, we have to break through. They know that this is their window. And we'll see how they handle that once we get into it. It's a great team. As I said, I think they're the best team for the regular season. But there's something about the Phillies when the postseason happens that there's a piece within that group. There's an ease within that group that I think plays big in October.
Now, I know one happened much more recent than the other, but it's the first time I've had you on since the playoffs. Would love to get your thoughts on the Aaron Nola 7-year contract extension, and then over the weekend, Zach Wheeler gets the 3-year big money extension. What are your thoughts on both?
Well, I'd say this. Peter Seidler, the owner of the Padres, who passed away last November, he was viewed as, generally speaking, that by players, the best owner in baseball. I think John Middleton has moved into that category now. It's pretty clear that what's important to John is winning. Aaron Nola was going to get, had potentially offers in the same range with other teams, but it was clear that John wanted him back. And with this negotiation with Zach Wheeler, they paid him essentially free agent dollar before he became a free agent because they value him. A few years ago, the whole situation reminded me of how a few years ago I'd heard that the Phillies front office were just doing due diligence, and they asked other teams, hey, if we put Zach Wheeler out on the market, what would you give us for him? And when I reported that, John called me directly and basically said to me, he was pretty upset about it, and he said, I wouldn't trade Zach Wheeler for Babe Ruth. I wouldn't trade him for Ted Williams. He was angry, and I think if you're a Phillies player right now, you're feeling like you have an owner who is all in, and that's a lot more rare than I think people realize in baseball.
I saw another one of your tweets this morning, not just about your prediction, Phillies overtaking the Yankees in the World Series, but you were talking about Blake Snell and Jordan Montgomery and how it would make sense for the Orioles to go after maybe one of those two starters. Are you kind of just certain at this point that the Phillies would not be going after one of those two players, even with Bryce Harper speaking publicly about going after one of those two guys?
Well, here's the problem. I would be surprised if the Phillies got involved because the price tag on Snell would be enormous, and maybe Snell would deliver himself to that team. But here's the problem. You know, Scott Boras, who's done a great job for his clients during his career, in order to get Snell to the Phillies, I think he would have to try to convince him to take a short-term deal. Well, how do you do that when the player's coming off a Cy Young season? This is the time when Snell needs to get paid with a really large multi-year deal. I would be surprised if the Phillies would entertain anything like that. We've seen stranger things in other places, but I think the Phillies won't be involved. I don't think the Yankees are going to be involved despite all the rumors because they would be taxed at 110% on every dollar they spend on his contract. They'd have to give a draft pick compensation. I don't think the Mets are going to be involved. I think the team to watch besides the Giants would be the Angels. At some point will the Angels, step up and spend money because they really haven't done that much this winter.
All right, let me ask you just because you brought them up. The Trout thing. Is there still a possibility that he gets moved at some point?
It's not anywhere close to reality now.
Okay.
You heard what he said a couple weeks ago, and I think that's legit. I've gotten to know Mike through the years, and he said he thinks it's essentially the quitter's way out to ask for a trade, and I think that's really how he's built emotionally. But at some point, if the Angels now go into a shell after, with the departure of Ohtani, and they begin to spend no money, maybe that changes. But the reality is, Trout needs a big year. And I have not been in Angels camp this spring, but I was speaking with Mark Gubicza, who is an analyst for them on television. He spoke with Trout. Trout is absolutely devoted to the idea of not only getting back and playing in a lot more games because he's missed, essentially 2 full seasons over the last 4 years, but he also wants to get back to being a dominant player. He senses he's driven, and, we'll see how that goes.
I'm going to ask you about 2 members of the Phillies before I let you go. I would love your personal belief on them, but also what are people saying about them? I'll start with Bryce Harper. What is the mindset going into this season of hopefully a full season, full healthy season of Bryce Harper, and also a full season at first base?
Yeah, that we're going to see a vintage Bryce Harper. Now that he has – we've seen with so many other players, it takes time to come back from that particular surgery. It was remarkable that he played as much as he did and came back as soon as he did from that surgery. And now that he's had the 4 months of playing time, people I talk to think that he's going to have a great season. And he definitely looked comfortable at first base. Kyle Schwarber would be the first one to tell you that when he plays first, he looks completely out of place. Bryce is the opposite. Bryce looks like a natural, which makes sense because he played he spent so much time in the infield as a catcher when he was an amateur. He just has an ease and an understanding, I think, about game situations that Kyle didn't when he played first base.
Now, same question, but different reasoning. How about year 2 under the big contract for Trey Turner?
That he's going to be a lot better. I remember talking to Trey, during the postseason last year and asking him, did that August 4th moment, and I think that's the date, did the August 4th moment last year really turn it on for him? Was that a turning point? And he was like, absolutely. And you can't, look at it any other way. The numbers speak for themselves. He was a completely different player after he got that standing ovation. And a tip of the cap to Phillies fans for making that happen. And, I'm sure that, going forward, when you see incoming superstars going into a big market like Juan Soto going to New York this year, it's almost like everyone should have a conversation about, hey, see what happened with Trey Turner in Philadelphia last year. Trey loves playing there, and he absolutely, I think, enjoys the clubhouse. feels very comfortable after bouncing back late in the season. I think he's going to have a huge year.
All right, well, we're going to ignore the fact that you predicted the Padres to win it last year, Buster, and we're just going to get excited about your prediction this year with the Phillies. Thanks for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking.
There he is, Buster Olney from ESPN. Does a tremendous job. I love that man. It's been our lives pretty much, covering baseball. Yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah, one thing. Yankees fans, no Soto ovation unless he signs a contract.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Could you imagine that? You give the guy an ovation, he leaves in free agency.
Yankees fans, boo him. Make his life miserable so that he signs here after.
No, it's fine. They're not spending money right now.
That he signs here afterward.
Phils are done spending this offseason because they got bigger plans. Bigger fish to fry.
Who?
I'm just saying, next year, Soto might be
Soto. Yeah. Trout, he doesn't want to be a coward, huh?
Be a coward, man. Be a coward.
Or is he being a coward?
I don't know. Pick your side.
I'm just saying, or is he being a coward?
Either man up or coward up, depending how you look at it. Just do the right thing, okay? Do the right thing by us.
All right. If you have any thoughts on what Buster Olney had to say, he has the Phillies winning the World Series, beating the Yankees, expecting big things out of Wheeler and Nola and Bryce Harper and Trey Turner, saying that John Middleton is the best owner in Major League Baseball. That's pretty nice to hear, actually, from a guy that covers the league nationally, having the best owner. Ownership group is actually the ownership groups here in Philadelphia aren't bad. They're really good. I know people feel a certain type of way about Josh Harris. I still think he's a great owner. John Middleton's a great owner. It's trending in the right direction for the Flyers, and we all know that Jeffrey Lurie is tremendous. It's awesome. All right. We'll continue the conversations that we've had so far today. Also, the question that I teased, I just forgot to get to it before we got to Buster. Is there anyone else close? I'm not saying but close to being universally loved the way Jason Kelce was currently in Philadelphia. I'm not saying look back, right? Currently in Philadelphia. Who's going to be that next guy, if there is one? We'll talk about that next right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Beaten by Brooklyn. I'm already done. This update is
975thefanatic.com. Andrew Salchunas, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It is 12:50 on the Midday Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. You know, it's really nice knowing where you stand in the minds of people, the hearts of people, Ray. You know, I came in this morning. You were very nice. Hi, welcome back, you know.
Yep.
Brendan Petrelli, same thing. Bobby, Pat, Mary Beth, Ms. Rhonda, big hug. Welcome back, you know. Tyrone, Dylan, Jen. And Ricky Bo's just silent when I walk by. And then Jen says something, Rhonda says something, and he goes, who are you talking to? You know, I don't see anyone there. Now all of a sudden I'm a ghost in the mind of Ricky Pitalico.
Well, I got to be honest with you. I was kind of shocked that by the end of the break he did acknowledge your existence because there was a conversation had between the two of us yesterday that he was not going to. He's none too pleased with your travels.
Why? I'm sorry that I took vacation.
No, not vacation. No, the travels you took over the last 2 days.
Oh, okay. Why?
Yeah.
What's wrong with it?
It seems like there's a little bit of jealousy.
Yeah, it must be it because I don't know. Was I not working down there, Ray? Working hard? Grinding? I got to the ballpark early. I was there before some of the players, man. Some guys strolling in late. You know?
Yeah, let's be honest, though. Yeah, I'm not going to say you're working harder than they were.
Some people don't know about the dirty work that goes on in this radio industry.
I would say
grinding.
I would say if anyone knows about the grind of spring training, grind is used lightly there. It would be Ricky Pitalico. Actually, he knew what old-fashioned spring training was like.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah,
it's a whole different world.
Yeah,
that was when they actually pitched
doing
innings.
Oklahoma drills.
Listen. You can start that fight with them, okay? That's a you and him.
I'm glad to see where I stand.
I just want to say that he was not happy. He was not happy.
I thought I put together 8 good hours of content, you know? It was nice when there was 2 press conferences during the first one.
Yeah, listen, again, you did a great job. I'm not here to talk down upon you.
I'm not asking for flowers. I was just surprised.
It's too late. I already gave you your flowers.
There was not. I was surprised the lack of welcome back from Ricky Bo.
I actually complimented stuff you did on Monday, which was when I was not in. Yeah. So, that was me basically being like, yeah, he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
Ricky, on the other hand, listen, I think if he had the opportunity to throw a fastball to your back, I think he'd do it.
Yeah.
I think he'd hit you with the pitch. I think that's the way he feels about you right now.
And you know what? I wouldn't rub it. I'd walk right to first base, head held high.
I don't know if you want to say that.
Are we talking prime Ricky Bo or are we talking now Ricky Bo? I know he's still got the heater.
Whoa.
Oh, no. Ooh. Come on, man. Let's be honest. I don't know if he's pumping 90. What was he? He was probably topping, what, mid-high 90s?
Yeah, he's not throwing that right now.
That's what I'm saying. When is he throwing? I'm not going back in time.
I still don't think you want to wear it.
It wouldn't be the first time I got hit by a baseball.
No kidding. I'm just saying. Listen, you're a father now. You're putting your body at risk. You can't have that.
Keep my head held high, man.
Okay, listen.
What doesn't kill me makes me stronger.
The guy fought Barry Bonds, man. You gotta be prepared for that.
I'm not charging them out.
Okay.
I'm dusting it off, walking to first base and going, yeah, I thought I did two good radio shows, but
I'm just saying.
Apparently that wasn't appreciated.
If at FanFest we get the Ricky Bo thrown at Andrew set up, I'm
already doing the Philadelphia man games.
Yeah,
I will be busy handling that.
Yes,
and not getting pelted by
that
fastballs. Don't worry, we'll take care of it. I wouldn't be the first host here at the station that
had some wild FanFest.
Was making things up at FanFest that never ended up happening.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be the first guy.
Waiting for those to get approved too. We'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Looking forward to it.
All right. So, is there anyone that is close to Jason Kelce in terms of being universally loved? And of course, we can't say 100% because our caller Jay from West Philly,
97% rule,
is anti-Jason Kelce, saying that he was put on a show, acting, Hollywood, that he did it all for his publicity. Did all for his podcast, all that nonsense. I'm guessing Bryce Harper is closest to it, even though last year he disappointed a lot of people in the playoffs. But I guess that's trying to think of the other all-stars to star players in this city. So Maxi's probably number 1 in terms of because you can't even go. You can't go Embiid.
No, absolutely not.
Like
no.
And is there anybody else on the Sixers? Like I know everybody's in love with Ricky Council right now. I get it, but like, you get where I'm coming at. With
Yeah, Jason Kelce, 13 years, 6 All-Pros. Maybe we don't throw the Ricky Council comparison out there yet.
Yeah, not yet. Maxey, probably.
It'll be interesting once Maxey gets paid.
Yeah, and if they're not winning without Joel. Now I know he didn't play yesterday because of the concussion, but I think Harper still is.
Harper's got to be careful. It's contract extension stuff.
Is it bothering you? I don't care.
I don't love it. I'll be honest with you. I really don't love it.
What are you worried about?
It's not so much that I'm worried. It's the fact that, hey, man, like maybe like get through a season healthy before you start asking to get a contract in your 40s.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like, I don't know.
Or we could do this like 3 or 4 or 5 years from now.
Yeah, like you still have 8 years left. Like if you think like because the whole thing was I wanted the way it was presented. I think it was Boris that presented it, or Harper might present it this way that I want to be able to go up to the owner and say it's time to sit down and redo this.
Yeah.
If you believe you have that ability, and you already have Middleton said like Middleton also kind of made the bed here by
he literally
publicly saying I'm underpaying you.
I'm underpaying you, right?
Is like part of the reason why like
that was after the home run, right? NLCS game
NLCS.
5.
Like it's always, I'm always go get your money. I want athletes to get paid. Just one of those was like 8 years left in this. This is the spin zone.
But is anybody really bothered by it right now? Like when I hear it, I just go.
I think there's people bothered by it.
Why?
Because there's 8 years left on the contract.
Yeah, but like why? Like okay, so then it ends up being 10. So it ends up being 11. Like
no, but it's like, dude,
focus. Is that what?
Is your like especially before Wheeler had gotten the extension, while we were still sitting here in the offseason of like nothing's happening. Like you're asking for this right now. And also, I think part of this is probably Boris in his ear, like, hey, man, I told you to get an opt-out.
If I'm Bryce Harper, I'm going, yeah, I want Zach and Aaron here too, but I got to take care of myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, look, he's taking care
from
of
our perspective,
right?
from our perspective, he's being taken care of. Yeah,
he's life-changing money, right? Like he's fine. But I don't know. I didn't take that as oh, man, he better watch out or he's going to start rubbing people the wrong way.
Well, you said unanimously beloved.
Yeah, but is anyone bothered by like I'm surprised that I don't know if are you bothered by it?
Little.
Really?
It irks me a little bit.
I really don't care. Wait, so are people I would put out a poll.
Okay.
Because I know not everyone's gonna
I guess maybe you were going, well, this was like a hot thing.
Well no, I remember when Boris first said it was on Heyman's podcast. Right.
No, but recently
and then he was asked about it during a spring training game, right? And he pretty much said like
he had the state of the Harper where he finally addressed the media. They talked about it. That might have actually been when you left for vacation. You might have missed that whole state of the Harper thing.
Okay.
He talked to the reporters. That's there was conversation about it. There were people that were bothered by it.
Really?
I'll put out a poll. I'm not saying that
here's the other thing. In that Zielecki, where he talks about 1A, and the 2 guys that are out there regarding Snell and Montgomery, John Middleton was asked about it, and he said, quote, at this point, I don't really have any public comment. Other than what I've said, my goal is that he retires as a Philly. My expectation is that he will retire as a Philly. We need to get something done, but when we get it done and how it gets done, it's not clear to me. Bryce Harper said, quote, I think that's just a conversation me and John can have whenever. Now, I'm sure there was something said like 2 weeks ago, but I don't know. Like, all right, the guy wants to work on an extension. He's the best player on this team, has been one of the better players in baseball when healthy, I understand, but it's not like it's been crippling injuries. Like, once they get to the playoffs, he's been himself. I'm surprised that there's somebody, but I didn't realize people were bothered by it. I really don't. I didn't realize people were bothered by it.
All right, poll's going up right now. 97.5 Middays.
Yeah,
are you bothered by Bryce Harper seeking a contract extension? Yes, he's under contract. No, he's Bryce Harper.
All right, please. I would also love to hear from you at 610-632-0975. So your reasonings are there's other stuff to get done. You have 8 years left on your deal. Is there any other
Well, I just mean like yeah.
You know
there's
me.
8 years
I'll
left in the deal.
hear anybody out. I just
That and again, you're asking to go into your 40s here. If you really think you have the ability, the cachet to ask for this whenever, I don't know if 8 years left when we haven't seen you
to do it. I get it
in the beginning of your 30s
because you don't see this.
Injuries.
Like Pujols didn't do we don't see this happen. The only guy I remember seeing this happen with is Patrick Mahomes, and he's now a 3-time Super Bowl champion.
Right.
Because remember he reworked. Didn't he rework his deal? What, last year, 2 years ago, or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was actually last year because I think it was right after everyone got paid, and it was like, you're going to be the highest paid again.
Yeah, exactly. You're Patrick Mahomes. You keep on winning.
Again, Bryce Harper and him coming to Philadelphia changed the trajectory of the Phillies. Like whole thing.
Yeah.
Appreciate the guy, love the guy, fantastic. Just saying, like we're already seeing him move to first base for the sustainability of his career. There's 8 years left on that contract. Like, I understand. We want the guy to get compensated. I want the guy to get his money. But right now, being the time where it's like, yeah, let's tack years on to go in your 40s, it's a little, dude, come on. And part of it's on Middleton because Middleton was the one publicly said, yeah, like, I'm underpaying you.
He said it to his face.
Scott Boras not going to let that one go, but
No.
come on. Time, place.
Interesting. Okay. All right. I'm surprised. I would love to hear from people. 610-632-0975. Ray put up the poll. Would love to hear from you guys on the phones. Are you bothered by Bryce Harper seeking a contract extension when he still has the 8 years left on his deal? I haven't really thought to be bothered by it. I just go, okay, you do you, man. Like, all right, so he works on an extension to get it to 10 years or to 11 years. You do you. I don't know. He's like you said in the question. No, he's Bryce Harper. That's how I kind of look at it. Like, no, he's Bryce Harper. Dude.
Well, when you put this under the umbrella of the question of universally beloved, and you as beloved to Jason Kelce, that's
right. I got
that was where this conversation started. Is there anyone close to being as beloved as him? I would tell you that for some people, you are going to get the...
Yeah, okay, for some people. There's also some people, not just Jay in West Philly. There were some people last year and the year before that were tired of the whole Jason Kelce one more year thing. Like, you have to give us an announcement soon or just retire. Let Cam Jurgens take over, right? Like, that's been talked about. I've seen it on social media. I see people that were getting bothered by it, to which I responded with, why? He's an all-pro. Let him do whatever he wants. Like, if he wants to come back, take him with open arms. And if he ends up retiring, okay, you should probably have a plan in place anyway, which they did. Drafting Cam Jurgens. Before that, Landon Dickerson. Before that, Isaac Sayamalu. Like, all those guys were potential replacements at center. You just kind of be prepared. So, like, I know people eventually got annoyed with Jason Kelce about it. So not everybody's 100% universally loved. Is there anybody close right now? I'm guessing it's Maxey. I thought it would be Harper, but...
I think it's also Harper. I think Harper's close, but we start using the universally beloved. Like right now, Maxey's in the spot of, and this is now slowly as the number 2, but for the last couple of years, he's been the number 3 guy that you got 21st pick in the draft that came in. You've exceeded every expectation. You're still on your rookie deal. Like Maxey hasn't quite been given the, and right now the pressure's been put on him because of this stretch, but you start to go this way and start pushing towards him being paid, him being the number 2, where I think some people will start, let's relax.
Once you start getting paid,
you all get caught up in his smiling, that person's coming. That take is coming. That idea is coming at some point from someone.
Look at Jalen Hurts. He gets the big contract.
Right. That's what I mean. So, last year, if we did this, Jalen Hurts, was he close? Is he getting close to Kelce territory? News cycle will get you.
Now, do you want to change your opinion? I'll give you the chance to change your opinion right now.
No.
Really?
I'm not backing off of this.
My man Jay from West Philly, who the last couple of calls that he's made needs to be studied by scientists at Penn or Cooper or any of the great hospitals in the area. His calls need to be studied by scientists. He called in. He already called in the show earlier, so he couldn't get back on the air. He called in and wanted to thank Ray Dunn for his stance right now. You sure you don't want to change you're now in lockstep with Jay from West Philly?
Listen, Jay's trying to run him out of town. I'm just simply trying to have the conversation. Jay is the extremist, okay? I'm just sitting here saying, when it comes up, I'm a little really? We're doing this right now? You ask if I'm bothered by it.
But has he been a problem? It's not like he's doing sit-ups in the damn driveway.
No.
He's just saying, I would like to get my contract reworked at some point. Contracts are restructured all the time. How easy? Roseman does it every freaking
different
week.
sport. much different
get it,
sport,
but, like,
much different scenario.
No, I get it, but like it's not like this is something new where guys restructure their contract.
baseball.
This is different for baseball. But Bryce Harper, when the owner himself, as you said, when the owner himself goes, "Yeah, I'm underpaying you," they probably go, "Yeah, you know what? You're right."
I said this while you were gone, while you were on vacation. The one way where I become the biggest fan of this in the world is if Harper does it, it sets the precedent, and then you go down to Atlanta and all those guys that are being exploited right now by
like
the
Ronald
Braves
Acuna Jr.
say, you know what, I want to rework my deal. That's the only way where I start going like, you know what, this is great.
Yeah, they got Acuna and Albies for what? At least Albies another 4 or 5 years at making like nothing.
Making nothing.
Yeah, it's
absolutely nothing.
It's crazy. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Tasty Cake Dom. What's up, Dommy?
Andrew, how are you? Hey, Ray.
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. I understand what Ray's saying. For me, Andrew, Bryce gets a pass. I mean, he gets a pass on whatever he wants. He's done so much already. Like, his resume already is so – there's so much, like right, Andrew, you could visualize in your mind those moments.
MVP, leader of the team that broke a 10-year playoff drought, sends them into the World Series, the home run. Now, I understand, came up small in the NLCS last year, but – he's done enough where this doesn't bother me.
Right, and there's no doubt going forward he's going to continue to produce in the clutch. Like for me, that's I got him continuing to perform at that level over the next. I mean, it just sounds crazy to renegotiate a contract.
Yeah, like it'd be weird if Turner, like if Trey Turner was doing it after last year, that'd be kind of weird. But I don't know. When Scott Boras first brought it up, I think wasn't it Heyman's podcast, right? I think he was on with Heyman's podcast, and he just kind of brought it up himself, which is probably a tactic of his. I didn't like feel any certain type of way, and I know the conversation's continued, but it hasn't bothered me.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. It just doesn't. I want him here. I want him to remain a Philly. And Ray, you don't think he's got 10 good years left?
I would love for him to have 10 good years left in him. I've seen the last 2 seasons where, yeah, you know what? Maybe, when he gets hit in the face, when he ends up, getting Tommy John, like things happen. 10 years is a long time to ask for durability for a guy that they've already moved to first base for sustainability of his career. That's just the part of me that looks at it with a little bit of concern. Does he deserve his money? Absolutely. Asking for an extension on top of this, like if we're renegotiating, he wants, $5 more million a year. We keep the 8 years. You could start talking me into possibilities with this. The idea of an extension for a guy that has 8 years left that's going to take him to the end of his 30s concerns me.
It's different, and thanks for the call, Dommy. Like, it's totally different. It is. I'm not disagreeing with you. Like, this is unordinary. I only know one guy that really did it, not just restructured to help the cap. It was Patrick Mahomes in the NFL, and okay, he's won 3 Super Bowls, so he's kind of allowed to do it. But it wasn't something for me when I heard it that I was like, really, dude? Like, for me, it was just like, okay, whatever. Get it done. Like, it doesn't even have to be today. It can be whenever. Harper himself said it. This can happen whenever. It doesn't happen today. I don't think he's going to hold out to start the season or anything.
No, I don't think he's going to hold out either. And I'm not telling you, like, this is going to be, like you said, sit-ups in the driveway where we're going to be, what's going on? This is becoming tenuous. I just, to me, when I think about this, Dom asked the question, do you think he has 10 more good years left? Love to think he has 10 more good years left. There's been plenty of players in my lifetime that I've been excited with the idea of them being, high-level athletes for a long time in my lifetime that I haven't seen it. Harper is healed at an unbelievable level, and, hey, he's been there in the postseason, and he's had big moments in the postseason the last 2 years. When they need him healthy, he was healthy. I do think that, you get concerned about some of those things, and also all you could be all Harpered up today, and I love him. Don't want him to wear another uniform for another team out there. Yeah. This is not a like anti-Harper thing. This is just the way I know this town works. If this team goes another 2 or 3 years where they sit on the precipice of a championship but they don't get it, and he's the constant. Oh, you all talking about Harper into his 40s? Can you believe we gave an extension to that guy? We've already seen the best years of his career.
We're doing that with Embiid now.
Yeah, so I want to just remind all of you that yes, I believe great things are ahead of him too. I absolutely do. I have the reservation of the fact that when you can be promised great things, they don't always deliver. And, hey, he's already got 8 years where it's already been promised his way.
Okay.
That was part of the contract that he signed.
Yep. All right. Well, we have the poll up. I'll give you the results so far coming up next. But Tasty Cake Dom, who just called in, when I think of Dom, I think of Sixers basketball. And I have not brought it up yet. Tough one last night, losing to the Nets.
Yeah.
Remember when I tried telling all the Joel Embiid haters that they're not going to be good without Joel Embiid? Yeah, we're continuing to see that. Instead of 3 of their last 10, there are at least 5 of their last 10 winners. But they are now the 7th seed. They are now officially a play-in team if the season were to end today. They lose to the Nets. They're playing the Grizzlies tonight, which if you lose to the Grizzlies, then we're in deep trouble here. Grizzlies stink. But the Sixers currently the 7th seed, tied with Miami, but Miami has the tiebreaker, so they're ahead of them in the standings. And only 1 game up with the Pacers. The Bulls will not catch them. The Sixers have a 6-game lead ahead of them. But right now, the Sixers are the 7th seed, could fall as far as 8th. And, it all comes down to when Joel Embiid comes back. But it's losing to the Nets was a rough one yesterday.
Yeah, not great.
No, especially in the fourth quarter. You kind of
defense would be cool.
Yeah, defense would be really cool.
Anyone that's not Oubre also, doing something down the stretch would also be cool.
Our man, the guru, talking about how bad of a defender Joel Embiid is. You're also missing that.
Yeah,
missing a lot of Joel Embiid right now.
I would love to hear from him, honestly. I don't know where he's gone. I don't know where he's hiding.
He's disappeared.
He's disappeared. I would love for him to justify the defensive effort he sees.
He's disappeared for 2 reasons. The Sixers have not played anywhere near as good without Embiid, and his boy Halliburton, the Pacers, are not. They're actually behind the Sixers right now. So
yeah,
that's why
I just want to hear.
That's why he's gone silent.
I just want to hear defensively how this team, now that they moved off of an incredibly overrated defender in Joel Embiid, how they look so awful.
I would like to hear from anybody that thought just give the keys to Maxey and they'll be all right. Now, Maxey didn't play last night. I get that, but he's been the guy, and they have not been all right. They need Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is the reason why this team is a top 4 seed every single year. And you guys all poo-poo that. Now look at it. Falling apart before our very eyes. We got another segment left. 610-632-0975. We will update you on this Twitter poll. And also a tweet that we might read too much into. I'll tell you what that is next. Right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sixers.
120, 97.5 The Fanatic. 1 o'clock hour brought to us by Ferguson HVAC Lyon Conklin. Attention HVAC contractors for equipment, parts, and supplies for your heating and cooling job. Visit one of Ferguson's counter locations in Ben Salem, King of Prussia, Pennsauken, or Westchester. Ray, there's a tweet that you know we're going to read too much into.
Oh, great.
So, it's the we're almost reaching what, legal tampering for the NFL free agency period.
Which I never understood that phrase, but go ahead. Yeah, use it.
Dumbest thing in the world. Legal tampering, free agency will open up, right? New league year, all that fun stuff, which is important, especially with this Eagles team. Which also means a lot of teams are not tagging players. First off, we didn't even get into it yesterday. I saw Eagles linked to Saquon stuff. There's no way that's happening.
Stop it.
It's not happening. Would I love it? Absolutely. Are they going to do it? Absolutely not. They're not going to pay him that kind of money. And I would love it from a Madden perspective, like not from a actual team building thing. But speaking of the New York Giants, which is why I brought up Saquon, it is announced they're not tagging Xavier McKinney. Safety. Nice little player. The Eagles need a safety. He put out a tweet just 21 minutes ago, Ray. Starting to see this life bleep from a bird's view. ...
He's an Eagle. Or Raven. Or Cardinal.
You should just see the responses, dude. It's so funny. All the responses, Eagles, 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 Eagles. Or some are saying, what bird? Could be Falcons. Could be Seahawks. There's other birds.
No way it's Falcons.
It's not just the Eagles.
I will lose a lot of respect for that.
So that's the latest of tweets to read too far into, because remember, LeJarry Sneed was the Eagle emoji on the Instagram post, which is, I don't know why you would post that.
He's soaring. He's coming out the tunnel like an Eagle. He might be a fan of the Eagles. There's so many reasons why he could do that.
Nothing was better than Jock Peterson.
Yeah. We didn't spend enough time reacting to how weird that was.
Funniest thing. Jock Peterson, he didn't even say anything, did he? No. It was just a picture of him and the Fanatic after free agency opened up, and everyone, wait, are they going to sign Jock Peterson? Nope. Which would have made sense, the fourth outfielder thing. I don't know how much sense it would have made, because he can't.
Left-handed bat.
Left-handed bat. It was Schwarber, and
it would have made it work.
It would have made it work, yeah. You know. Well, this is all still under the same Castellanos be traded time, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's just the weirdest thing. But yeah, so we've reached now read into everything mode. It's also,
if I tweet out the eyes emoji and an eagle, people would think, hey, they're finally giving that guy a shot.
Ray's going to get a shot. The other thing that I love this season, and by season I mean it's Eagles should get him season. Every player that becomes available, somebody, not everybody, but some Eagles fan wants every player that's available. Like Saquon Barkley not getting tagged. You know there are Penn State Eagles fans that got to go get him. Forgetting all about cap implications, forgetting all about what the Eagles have done, forgetting all the Eagles don't run the football that much. You know there's somebody from Penn State that's an Eagles fan that wants Saquon Barkley.
Yes.
And now, look, he's a very good football player, right? Like, just because the Giants are a mess and they haven't done anything with him as a top 5 pick, but still, like, every player, somebody says, oh, that'd be a good pickup for the Eagles. That'd be a great pickup. All right, before we get to this poll, very, very deep conversation during the break with the best show ever. Now, I don't want to get into the conversation because they might be, I don't know if they're going to get into it on the air, so I'm not going to.
I think we've had this one with them before. At least I've had it with them before.
Well, in case they're going to get into it on the air, I don't want to, bring it up because I want it to be fresh for them. Best show ever coming your way at 2:00. But it was a conversation about life and death and all that kind of stuff. Pretty deep, man. Deep conversation on a Wednesday. Not ready for it. It was not. Hello.
Welcome back.
Good to see you guys. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Ricky wasn't talking to you last break. This break you were talking about.
Now we're talking about death like crazy. Yeah. So you said something that made me think. You've always wanted to skydive, but you would like to know that you land safe.
Yes.
Same. I signed up for it was going to the skydiving place. This was when I think I was in college. Or I was either a senior in high school or it was like freshman year of college or whatever. I literally chickened out as I was driving to the skydiving place. Because I was like, what am I doing here? What if it doesn't work? Right? I can't do this. So I was thinking, is there any other thing that I would like to do that's a major risk? And I'm not joking with what my first answer was. I would love to participate in the running of the bulls.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
How awesome would that be? The adrenaline rush, but there's some major risk to it. You know, that'd be pretty cool. Like, if I do that knowing that I would survive and not even, like, feel pain, like, I would be fine, right? Not even a scratch on me. That'd be a pretty cool one.
Do you get the same adrenaline rush with the knowledge that you survive?
No, I don't go into it knowing that I have that safety.
Oh, okay.
I just want, like, I would not do it because of the risk.
Right. Yes. No, I would also not do it because of the risk.
Right.
But I'm incredibly intrigued by it.
Yeah, like, that'd be a pretty cool thing to do, the running of the bulls.
Yes. Just like the skydiving thing for me. Like, I want to do it. I know myself. Like, I'm not going to sign up for it because I know, the whole know thyself thing. I would do the same thing you did. In fact, I give you props for even getting in the car.
Yes.
Because I think I would just, nope.
Chicken out. I turned around. Another thing I thought of. Now, this does not, I would hope it wouldn't lead to potential death. It would lead to probably bodily harm. But what would be worse would be the lawsuit implications. Running on the field and trying to avoid security, you're all dumb for doing it. But if I knew I would have, like, it's I can do it. I'm not going to get in trouble. It's more so a show for the people, right? It's a radio content bit. We sign it off of them beforehand. They know what's happening. You know how sometimes the Fanatic's dancing with the umpire, and then the umpire takes off his uniform, and he's like a mariachi dancer? Like, that kind of thing. Like, it's part of the in-game entertainment. I would do that. But, like, I also know if you actually do it, you're a moron because you're disturbing the game and you're also getting arrested and paying a lot of money and potentially never going back into the stadium.
Right. Like, I don't know if I've ever had that intrusive thought. I'll be honest with you. No, the whole run on the field thing, that's just not something that's ever struck me as something that I would.
It's never even crossed your mind?
Not really.
Like,
no.
I don't want to do it, and I don't promote to do it. I think you're all morons for doing it, but
But you're saying you've had a moronic moment.
Like, if you want, so you're telling me you've been at a game and there's somebody on the field. You don't think you never thought, I could do better than that guy. I could have lasted.
Oh, I know I could do better than them.
Like, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but that's not the point. I wouldn't do it.
Like, the high-speed chase never crossed your mind?
A high-speed chase?
Like, come on, admit it. It's crossed your mind.
The high-speed chase is interesting. Mostly,
we've all played GTA here. Like,
yeah, like that's part of it. That's crossed the mind. But the thing is, I am never going to do anything that would lead to a high-speed.
Of course.
Like, me getting pulled over would probably be, no, knock on wood, because now I'm going to get pulled over, I'm sure, like, in the next 2 days. Would be kind of news. Just because that's just not the way I operate.
Just something that...
wholesome fella here.
Something that crossed my mind based off of the conversation we were having during the break with the best show ever. A very morbid conversation, but one that I signed up for.
I would love to do, if we're talking things risk averse, I'd love to do like one of those like deep sea type adventure things, like
you mean like the hell was it this year? It was this summer. I was in Mexico when it happened. The submarine.
Oh.
Like one of those kind of deals?
No. Like, no. Not going down. Not going down. Like going out.
Okay.
Like going out.
Okay.
Getting to like to get to live my explorer type moment there.
Okay.
Like with the big waves and stuff. I don't know how they survive that stuff.
No, neither do
I. If you want to talk about weird, nerdy fascinations, like
that kind of stuff.
How the Vikings dealt with the waves like that.
At night.
Yeah.
No, I hear you.
Yeah, like what's out there? It's 70% water, man. That means I'm not going to see a lot of it. So I would like to see more of it.
That's a good point. Okay, so you put out a poll. So last segment, I asked a question about whether or not there's any player that is close to being as universally loved as Jason Kelce. Also, let me know let me know what other clips we have from the podcast. We'll play those two about his retirement again later this segment. Jason Kelce had his podcast today, the New Heights Pod, and they obviously dove deeper into the retirement today, and he explained why he decided to retire. He explained what's bumming him out the most to decide his retirement. Did we end up getting the list of thank yous from people? Because if we could play that, that'd be awesome as well. But before we get to that, I asked the question of, is there anybody in Philadelphia right now that is close or will come close to being as universally loved as Jason Kelce? And my first thought was Tyrese Maxey, just because everybody loves him. But as Ray said, wait until he gets paid. Let's see what happens once he gets the max contract. And if the Sixers are still a disappointment, or if when Joel Embiid's missing time, the Sixers are still losing a lot of games like they are right now, which does fall on Tyrese Maxey. Like Tobias Harris rightfully gets a lot of blame, but Tyrese Maxey, seems like he gets left off the hook a lot, especially when people were ready to just hand the keys over to Tyrese Maxey a lot. But Maxey, I think, is that guy. My next thought was Bryce Harper, to which you were like, I don't know about that. People are already starting to get annoyed by this contract extension talk. Because Harper still has 8 years left on his deal. His agent, Scott Boras, on John Heyman's podcast during the offseason was talking about how Bryce, they're going to try to work out an extension for him. This coming off of John Middleton saying that you're underpaid. And when you said that to me, I was shocked that you said it. And I was shocked that you said there are people annoyed by it. So you put up the poll in the midday count. Are you bothered by Bryce Harper seeking a contract extension? The options were yes, he's under contract, or no, he's Bryce Harper, to which I voted no, he's Bryce Harper. And I noticed that I am in the majority. However, I am surprised that it's as close as it is. Not close like 55-45, but it's 67% to 33%. 33%, that's a third of the audience, is bothered by Bryce Harper seeking a contract extension. So Scott checks in. He says, it makes me roll my eyes more than anything. He'll be coming up on 40 when his current contract ends, so I'm not really sure why they're worrying about it when they're not even midway through this one. Santino checks in saying, yes, greed isn't becoming. Ty, the nice guy, says he has 8 years left, ... Maybe if he plays a full season and win a chip within that 8, then we could talk. Plus, we moved him the first to extend his career, which is something that you've been talking about. Wow. J-Man says he has 8 more years left on his contract. Let's get a grip. I'm surprised it's 33%, man.
I'm surprised you're surprised. You want to tie a bow in the show? You talk about gotta take the kids' gloves off. We gotta really get on Jalen Hurts to be a leader.
Yes, he does.
We do.
He does.
Yeah. Okay. Well, sure. With Jalen Hurts, maybe we should take the kids' gloves off of. He's great. He's fantastic. He's got 8 more years on his contract. We just moved him to first base for sustainability. And if his availability over the last 2 years was the availability of Joel Embiid over the last 2 years, you'd be complaining about Joel Embiid's availability.
Yes. That's true.
Like,
I don't know.
Sorry. It's not a I don't like Bryce Harper. It's a, hey, maybe
no, right, I
we
get
should.
It. And I don't think, I'm not like, oh, you're an idiot. I'm just surprised that there are people bothered by it. And a third of the people are bothered by it.
Yeah, it's just, again, I think he deserves his flowers for how he's changed the trajectory of the Philadelphia Phillies. He deserves his flowers for the moment where he hits the home run against the Padres and for the moments he's had in the postseason over the last couple of years. He's been everything and advertised and more. And Middleton's right in that he's underpaid. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Asking for a raise, because of great performance, I got you. But we are just kind of like, oh, well, he chose us, so, because he chose us, let's just give him whatever. If he wants the Liberty Bell, he could take it. Put it in your house.
Yeah, but we're not talking about 8 years, 2 is 8 years. Like, we're not talking about a 16-year contract all of a sudden. We're talking about what? Probably 3 more years to the 8 that's left?
Wants to play till he's what, 45?
Is that what is that
So,
the
7
age?
more?
All right.
6 more?
I'm not bothered by it. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. And I'm in the majority. I'm just surprised it's as close as it is. So I'd love to hear from you guys. 610-632-0975. Now, we'll get to this Kelce. So Jason Kelce, obviously his podcast with Travis Kelce. There was like a 5-minute compilation. How much did we get it down to? Because we probably shouldn't play all 5 minutes.
We've got 3 of the notable ones.
Okay.
So we got.
So we'll play that in a minute. So Jason Kelce, at the end of his podcast, they put together a 5-minute compilation of people congratulating Jason Kelce on his incredible career, first ballot Hall of Fame career. But before we play those, I want to play the 2 clips that we've already played in the show, and then I'll get to our man, Uncle Frank, who wants to, quote, kiss Kelce's ass. Deservedly so for Jason. So Kelce went into the reasoning why he retired, and here's his explanation.
Me, and I think that's how I knew, like in previous years, like I would reach out to other guys like, hey, how do you know when you want to stop playing? Or, Stott, what do you think? And the reality was it was more firm than it's ever been this year that I just don't think physically I can compete at the level that I want to anymore. Really compete the way I want to. My elbow and my knees. It's just gotten to the point where the deterioration and the recovery from that deterioration hasn't really manifested on game day yet, but I know it's going to start doing that. I'm hard on myself. And if I go out there and I'm not the player that I want to be, it'll crush me. So I feel very confident in the decision I've made. I know that it's time. I've had a really good run, but that's the biggest reason why.
So I respect him for doing it. I compared to Zach Wheeler, which Scott Lauber, who joined me earlier in this week from Clearwater, he spoke with Zach Wheeler's agent after the contract was signed, and people were wondering, wow, 3 years for a guy that's 33. Usually that's the contract that's signed by, a guy that's 37, like the Verlander contract, the Scherzer contract. Zach's agent basically told Scott Lauber, yeah, this is probably his final contract because he doesn't want to retire after having like bad seasons. He doesn't want to pitch too long and his arm's shot, and he's just not the same pitcher. He wants to go out on a high note, which is what Jason Kelce did personally, right? He finished as an All-Pro, and he realized that he probably can't play at the same level that he was able to play at. And so he then was talking about what's bothering him most from his retirement. Take a listen.
The one thing that I'm disappointed about retiring right now is I'm retiring when the Eagles had potentially the biggest collapse in the history of the organization. Not potentially, probably the most.
No.
And the reason I say that I'm upset about that is I really, truly think the Eagles are going to ball out next year. I think all of those guys, there's still a tremendous amount of talent there. Mm-hmm. They've hired 2 really good coaches that are going to be able to offer a new perspective and look at things with a fresh lens. I think Jalen Hurts is a tremendous quarterback. I know it wasn't a good end of the year for him or for anybody on offense.
Yeah, there's no doubt in that.
But there's still so many pieces. There's plenty of cap space. I know how he's going to make some moves to improve the things that need to get fixed.
He always does.
I just really think there's going to be one hell of a bounce back from the Philadelphia Eagles next year. And it really pains me that, I'll be a part of it in some way. Like, I'm still going to go down to the facilities. I'm still going to help out in any way I can. But I'm also going to be doing other things. And I'm not going to be on the field doing it with those guys. But I can damn sure at least appreciate it from afar. That is one thing I'm really upset about the timing of. But it is what it is. It's just I have to enjoy it in a different way.
What would you have done, Ray? So he's retiring. I don't want to say forget the collapse, but forget the collapse for a second. He knows, we believe, this team's still going to be really good next year. He mentions Howie, right? He's going to be busy this offseason. And Howie probably told him as such, right? Like, I imagine before he made his decision, or maybe he did tell Howie, and Howie was probably like, look, this is what we're planning on doing this offseason. If you get one more year, we're going to try to build another Super Bowl team or whatever. So he's going out on top of his game, doesn't want to, probably deal with the grind again, which I don't, training camp and everything. I know the Eagles have a lighter training camp than most teams, but still camp. You still got to keep your body in shape. It's not like the old days where you show up to camp out of shape. You're now, to get into shape, you're showing up to camp in shape. would you go out on the top of your game knowing yourself that it's probably going to be rougher next year, even though you believe your team could win something? Or would you deal with everything, which that's a lot, pain, not seeing your family, the things that athletes have to also go through, and try to give it one more shot?
So this is from my perspective.
Yes, from your perspective.
I would go out.
You would retire?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd be done. I would, because you can say all these nice things about where they're headed, the trajectory of them next season. You're a vet in this league. You've spent 13 years in this league. You've also said in the past that every time this team's expected to be great,
they're bad.
And every time they expect to be bad, they're great.
Yeah.
You know just how finicky this league can be. You know how much can change from week to week. If you start to feel like it's not there for you right now, and he says, in the first clip we played, I realized that. It was not a question of asking other guys when they realized it was time. I realized it was my time. If I realized that, I'm not going through that grind one more time to hoping that I walk away with the lottery ticket. And again, I've said this a million times. There's 1,000 different reasons why I did not accomplish much in athletics. One of them is my mentality, for sure. Absolutely. But I'm that in that scenario, the situation he's in, I'm calling it. I'm calling it right.
I think I would have kept playing. I'm not discrediting Jason Kelce. I think I would have kept on playing. Because I would have been like, man, I still got it. I'm still a weekend warrior playing Sunday League baseball, right? Everything hurts. My arm, knees, hip, everything hurts. I'm 30, right? Everything freaking hurts. I can only imagine what it's like to be a professional athlete, especially somebody who's playing football getting beat up, getting beat up every single week. I think me personally, I would have kept on going. Now, follow-up question. Jason Kelce's not the first player to go out, maybe earlier than he could. Now, he went 13 years. But Marshawn, he still probably could have played. Look, Barry Sanders a long time ago. Calvin Johnson a little bit longer, not longer than Barry Sanders, but kind of a long time ago now. But Marshawn Lynch, he was a guy that kind of went out when he probably still could have played a little bit. There was a player, I think he was a lineman for the Ravens, who played maybe 4 years and signed. He might have played 5 or 6 years, made enough money where he's like, yeah, I'm good. And he was really smart. Do you remember? There was a commercial where he played chess against 30 kids. And it was I think it was an NFLPA commercial or something, or a community commercial or whatever. And he went back to school, and I think he went to MIT. He was bright. He did not want to risk.
John Urschel.
Yes. He did not want to risk his brain, because let's face it, playing NFL, you do that. He basically made enough money, and his body's still feeling comfortable. He still has his wits, right? He still has his brain, and he's now he went to MIT or something. It was something like that. I wonder if that happens more and more in the NFL. Or do guys just keep going? I don't know. NFL's different. I'm not talking baseball, hockey, and basketball. I'm talking about the NFL with all the information that we know, the injuries that we know. Do more and more guys play less than 10 years?
You mean after you get that real first contract, that's the only time, you sign that big contract?
Yeah.
And that big contract it could be.
Because you hear stories of the pain that guys are still dealing with years after their career.
Yeah, I think in the Kelce case, 13 years, you kind of undersell it with that. 13 years of his position.
Right.
Yeah. He earned every bit of making this decision at this point.
Absolutely. Well, I think anybody earns it. You play
but
8 years in the NFL.
I guess what I mean is when you talk about guys not playing 10-plus years, one, the league usually dictates that too. So the fact that he's dictating his own terms after 13 years is kind of a rarity. Mm-hmm. But I could see a world where players' careers go a little bit shorter if the money goes up and they start to realize, hey, man.
Well, right, the money is going up.
Well, money's going up for certain positions. There's some running backs that get that first contract. It's I need 2 more.
Right, they might need to keep on playing, or they can't play anymore because of the way the sport is.
Yeah, so I think
like a slot receiver who makes a couple good contracts, right? They're getting crushed over the middle of the field.
Yeah. No, and again, this goes back to my mentality on this whole thing. But this might also just be a life thing. Like, if you've made it big, you could be comfortable and you can, start to, lessen the grind on yourself. And I'm not even talking about the grind of, physical. I'm just talking about like, hey, you made it good. You can kind of enjoy life. I would be one to, dial it back a little bit. I would be one to enjoy life and dial it back a little bit.
Alfie checks in. Andrew Luck recently.
Yeah.
There was talks about him. What wasn't it last season? Teams were like making phone calls.
I think as soon as someone goes down, you just, hey, Andrew,
hey,
you love football.
One more shot. Let's go to Uncle Frank. What's up, Uncle Frank?
Happy Wednesday to all.
How you doing, my man? Thank you for the kind words on social media the other day. I appreciate it.
You got it.
Hold on a second, real quick, before we continue the conversation. The breaking news sounder, please. Ray Dunn.
Now, breaking sports news from 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Per Pierre LeBrun, the Flyers have traded Sean Walker to the Avalanche. So the conversation of will they be buyers or sellers or stand put, already, the trade deadline on Friday, they already made a trade. So Sean Walker heading to the Avalanche. All right, Uncle Frank, you're back. Sorry.
The hell, you put that hot take before me?
I gave you news, man. This is the station for breaking news.
Andrew, I had one question before. You didn't hang out too long at Frenchie's, did you?
Where? At the ballpark or at any of the establishments?
Any.
Because I did not go to Frenchie's outside the ballpark.
Oh, okay.
The hotel I stayed at had a bar that was a lot of fun. I went to the legendary Palm Pavilion, and then we went to our man John Brazier was staying at a different hotel. We went over to see him, and there was a bar at his beachfront hotel, so that was fun.
Wow. Yeah. That's all. That's a lot for 2 days, huh? Good for you.
I took care of myself.
You had some great interviews. You really did. Nice
Thank
work,
you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was entertaining. So our future HOF center, right?
Mm-hmm.
When Kelce said, well, he's trying to say until, emotion swept him away. But I loved he started with laying in the dew of the grass, smelling the freshly cut grass. Man, that I got chills. That resonated.
Yeah.
And it took me way back, like the Pop Warner football as a kid. Two guys on the laying flat, then you get up and you just ram into each other. And I got to tell you, I welled up.
Oh yeah, dude. It was an emotional press conference. It absolutely was.
Oh my God! And listen, self-admittedly, I get emotional at supermarket openings, so it doesn't take much for me to. So, Kelce, guys, he has such great athleticism. I mean, obviously you're blocking first level, right?
Second level, sometimes third.
Third. He was going third level. Plus, most of the time, centers aren't the lead blockers on screens, bubble screens, etc.
No, you're right. Hey, listen, I would love to continue the conversation, but Ray, hit it again, Ray.
No.
Now, breaking
Thanks for the call, Uncle Frank.
From 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Per Jordan Schultz, Zach Ertz signing with the enemy to the Commanders. So he'll get a contract. You want to talk about, let's keep on playing a little bit.
That's an easy $5 million.
Yeah. Commander's not doing anything. So we'll see Zach Ertz twice.
You just saved Uncle Frank from the zapping. He was going to get zapped for that exact breaking news. I saw Tom Pelissero with the 1 year, $5 million.
Is it 1 year, $5 million? Okay.
Yeah,
so Zach Ertz, very weird choice for Ari Myrov, who is now tweeting it out. He used Ertz in the Lions jersey as the photo.
Lions legend.
Very strange.
Were they 0-1 with him on the active roster?
Yeah, he was signed for the NFC Championship game.
Wow.
And they lost.
What was that due to his legacy?
Oh,
6-1-0, man.
6-1-0. Okay, so who are the three clips that we got? Because we got about 2 minutes left.
We got Embiid, Charles Barkley, and Shaq.
All right, let's hear in order. Like, is it one clip?
It is one clip.
All right, let's take a listen.
Just the leader that you are, the competitor that you are. It's been a blessing just to watch you, do your thing. Congrats on such an amazing career.
As a diehard Eagles fan, man, it's been fun watching you all these years. Not just the football, your personality, just watching you and your family. Thank you for the Super Bowl.
Welcome to my life. Let me tell you what my life consists of. Nothing. Pick up that paper. I know you've never done that before. You have your wife fix your plate, make your own plate, wash your own dishes. You take out the garbage now. Welcome to my life, buddy. You have converted yourself into a regular man.
That's awesome. That's great. That's really cool. Like Charles Barkley and Shaq, and there's a bunch of players across the NFL, and Nick Foles, I know, chimed in on that one, which, by the way, we really didn't get to talk about it because the press conference happened at 1 o'clock on Monday, and then I was still down at Baycare yesterday. The Nick Foles line was just tremendous.
So he said on New Heights, he texted Nick asking if he could use that line.
Oh,
and Foles asked his wife if Kelce could use it. Both of them gave it the okay, obviously. But so thank you to Tori and Nick for allowing us to have that line from the presser.
That's and I guess thank you to Nick Foles' parents.
I thought you were going somewhere else.
And jeans.
Thought you were going to provide a congratulatory somewhere there.
Congrats on your success, man. All right, that'll do it for today. It was a fun show today. We'll be back at it tomorrow. So Sean Walker, the first shoe to drop for the Flyers. They make a trade. The trade deadline on Friday. So as we get closer, we'll get, I'm sure, more and more news coming out of the Flyers. They're probably going to be sellers. Everybody have a great rest of your day. The best show ever coming your way next right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic.